You damn right. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Hope you're having a good Monday. It is Overreaction Spring Game Monday. Just a different feel in the air today. We hope you enjoyed your weekend and your spring game if your team had a spring game. Obviously, for our purposes, a lot of Longhorn fans will be weighing in today on their spring game, and we want your thoughts. So remember, the Specs text line is there, 337-3776. What'd you like? What didn't you like? Concerns, the good on one side always means bad on the other when it's a spring game. So let us know what you thought. We'll give you our thoughts as well. It's Chad and Zay on a Monday. I'm Chad Hastings, joined once again by Isaiah Collier. What's up, Zay?
National championship season, baby. Get your tickets ready. Get your tickets ready. Y'all saw what I saw. Nah, slow down, y'all. Slow down. I'm just playing.
Now that's doing a keg stand with the Kool-Aid right there. That's
that Kool-Aid spiked.
You think a lot of people were walking out of DKR with that feeling?
Hey, I know some is.
Uh-huh.
I know some is.
We definitely want to hear from you today. If you bleed burnt orange, what did you think of your crew on Saturday? What'd you think of those quarterbacks? The running back room has been discussed. The receiver room has been discussed. What'd you think of the defensive side of the ball? We will get into all of that today, and hope you had a chance to, if you did get a chance to get out to DKR, hope you enjoyed that. Weather was great on Saturday. The spring game stuff will be discussed. Obviously, we'll get into some NBA as well as the NBA playoffs do what they do. They cranked up over the weekend and started providing stories pretty quickly. So we'll get into all of that this hour. We will start with a quick NFL note just to get it out there because it is in the Cowboys division. And how about this? The answer to the question of who is the highest paid NFL player ever by average salary, if you want to go that list. Because remember, guaranteed money is Deshaun Watson, $230. But now average salary, it's not Aaron Rodgers anymore. It is Jalen Hurts. The story is a 5-year extension, $255 million, and right over $179 guaranteed. The Eagles also have given him a no-trade clause, which they have never given any player ever. History of the franchise, Eagles have never had a no-trade clause. That's what they think of Jalen Hurts. So it's official, Cowboys fans. You have to deal with that guy for a while.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you knew he was going to get paid, but they're all in for a long time. And you see what Lamar Jackson's going through. I think it's the style of play that's hurting Lamar Jackson. Well, Jalen Hurts has a similar style, and even though he's a little thicker than Lamar, I think that style isn't going to last a long time.
Similar concerns, right?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. When you get into your 30s and stuff, you're going to be that same guy to be able to lower your shoulder and take those hits. And, yeah, we always go back to what he squats and stuff, but it's still the NFL. And we know when you run, you don't get those same rules that you do when you're in the pocket. So his pocket play and his arm has really improved. You got to thank Lincoln Riley a lot for that. And his work ethic, you know you're not going to have to worry about that. You know you're not going to have to worry about him off the field. You talk about him being a leader. He's as good as it gets in the National Football League. He's a cool, swaggy dude. He fits the culture of Philadelphia as a city. So you look at all those things, it makes sense. It's just I do think about his style of play for the long haul.
Yeah, and if you're Lamar Jackson, isn't that what you go to the Baltimore Ravens or whoever? You go to them with this kind of argument. Look what's going on look what they know Jalen Hurts is not playing inside of a glass container. They know that there's no bubble. They can't put bubble wrap around that guy. And look at the money they're paying him. So now I wonder if Lamar goes back to his people. There are no his people. It's him and his mom.
Yeah, mama.
Right. Does he go back to the Ravens? And if
you see this?
If there's another team that gets it.
You see when they gave Jalen? You see this?
If the guaranteed money is now $179 for Hurts, That makes Kyler Murray second at 189.5. He's essentially at 190. And then, of course, Deshaun Watson at 230 or so. The reports are that he was offered, Lamar Jackson was, a little more than Kyler Murray. Like 180. With all of it put together, it might have been around 190. Something like that. So now I would wonder, would he take 180? 180, 185? Somewhere between Hurts and Murray. Would Lamar Jackson agree to something like that?
I mean, he should at this point, but I just think so many things have soured up there in Baltimore. I feel like he's being petty at this point. He's not trying to listen to anything, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like the Odell Beckham Jr. thing really didn't do much, which I didn't think it would, but still, you would think it would help a little since they were FaceTiming each other. And, yeah, I don't know. Maybe this pushes the needle more for Lamar to get something done with Jalen Hurts, but these brothers getting a lot of money.
They are.
That.
They are. We'll see if Lamar Jackson ends up getting a big hunk of money as well. So Jalen Hurts signs an extension with the Eagles. All right, again, we want to know your thoughts on the Texas spring game. If you're a Longhorn fan or if there was another spring game you were checking out this weekend. Our man Bevo Lance Jason says Texas spring game was entertaining, but not as entertaining as declaring a spring game offense and defensive MVP. Chad, wait. What? We don't need to get into. Why would we need to get? Don't worry. We'll get into the Aggie spring game a little bit in the crap bag. And I did notice that this morning. That I love it. At the end of the description of the game, for some reason, there were spring MVPs and awards given out. Weird.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. Y'all need some type of positive, things going on in College Station. So
I'll find you a couple positives in the crap bag.
There we go.
There are a couple of them I found. We'll do that at 12:45. But Zay, let's get into the Texas spring game. You are a Longhorn fan. Lots of Longhorn fans listening right now, and it's natural to have the, you're excited, you're a little nervous, you're this or that before a spring game. Give me your thoughts here as we start to break it down. What'd you think?
It was cool. Nobody got hurt. You saw flashes of what this team could really be, and that's what we've been saying once the 2022 season ended and you started getting all these freshman commits and, all these guys started coming in and you knew who was going to stay and who was going to leave, and that was putting yourself in the position to win a Big 12 championship. And just the depth, man. Like Sarkis was saying on the Pivot podcast, like he's been telling Craig and everybody that covers the game and University of Texas, he feels very comfortable with this squad. They're starting to look like his team, and we saw flashes of that all day on Saturday from Xavier Worthy looking another year better, healthy. That's the main thing. Yeah. And even if you get into an Xavier Worthy situation like you did last year, you see that there's other guys that can step up where there weren't last year. It was, we thought it was a deep wide receiver class, but it was thin, especially with how these coaches looked at these guys. They didn't have no confidence in them. Even Jordan Whittington had 1 touchdown last year. That's ridiculous. Yeah. And I thought he was one of the big bright spots. Everybody wants to talk these young guys because they're new. We're kind of old on Jordan Whittington. It's his 5th year here. He was big. I thought he was really good.
You thought 13 looked good,
I thought 13 looked really good. He lost weight and stuff. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? He talking about – I love when he talks about not eating ice cream because I know that's tough for him. It's tough for me too. And he definitely he definitely has way, he deals with it way better than I do. You see the belly here, Chad. So there are so many bright spots. A.D. Mitchell's catch, that stood out, obviously. I know people want to hate on Quinn Ewers' arm and stuff, but you got to know your personnel. Quinn knows sometimes I could just throw it up to certain guys like that. And that's the beauty of it. There was a point in time where you couldn't do that last year, and Sark was acting like you could.
Well, and that's a great example of a play that wasn't perfect, but a guy made a play. Last year, what we saw sometimes with Worthy and Ewers was they were trying to perfect something, and when one little thing went off, the play broke. But in that case, that's obviously not the ball Ewers wants to throw. But A.D. Mitchell is saying to him, that's okay, just get it kind of close, and I might be able to go get you one. And he did. Yeah. And it ends up being the play of the game.
Absolutely. Think about how many defensive coordinators coming into playing Texas focuses on J.T. Sanders. Because how can you not? He's a ridiculous physical specimen, an athletic
freak. And he looks even better.
And he looks better. He didn't even catch the ball though. He didn't even catch it.
He
He didn't even
so
catch the
good.
ball. He had that one drop early in the first drive.
First play.
One of the first plays.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then, you just didn't see him. And that's the beauty of it. You saw guys like Jonte Cook, who looks ready. I know DeAndre Moore had a couple of drops, but he also had a couple of solid catches too. And, I think some of the guys had those jitters. I think a lot of those drops for DeAndre Moore came to just the jitters of being out there at DKR for the first time. But I talked about it yesterday, Chad. If, God forbid, something were to happen to Quinn Ewers, would we be able to bring in a backup, whoever it may be? Could they come in and you still get to where you need to go and still have the same aspirations and still have the same goals if that were to happen, Quinn Ewers go down? And what I saw on Saturday, I think so.
Yeah, I think you do.
I think so. You didn't see too much. You can't judge it too much. You can't hit the guys. It's a lot easier. Arch was running like crazy. He was running like he was Lamar Jackson out there. I was like, yo, Arch, I feel you, but stay in the pocket a little bit. He'll learn. That's what it comes, that's being a young guy who just got to campus. That's what you're going to see. But at the end of the day, I love what I saw all around. I thought the defensive line was decent. It's just so hard to tell at the end of the day. Looking at both sides in the spring game, one team does well, you're going to hate on the other side. That's just always the natural, mentality going into these spring games. So I was just trying to phase that out. But overall, yeah, they look good.
Somebody texted in, Jaden Blue was good this weekend. Also, I know it's spring football, but Malik Murphy can slang it. Coming in on the text line, Murphy certainly did look pretty good. Someone else texted in, tackling was trash, O-line was shaky, running backs were meh, and Malik looks like the best quarterback, and he won't touch the field in 23, barring injuries. It's another 8-win team. Wow, okay. There's some realism in the Kool-Aid for you. Says, I've been dead on with my win predictions after the spring game 5 of the last 6 seasons, and this fan is saying 8-win team to them.
I feel like as a defender, we don't give these guys enough credit because a lot of those dudes on offense were wearing green jerseys like A.D. Mitchell. So in your mind, I can't hit those guys.
Right.
So it's hard to turn it on and off for guys I can hit and can't hit.
That's where I would tell there's certain things that you can't overreact about. I think anything in the running game, you kind of got to wait. Now, if it's not the A.D. Mitchell catch, the play of the game is probably Jaden Blue's run. That was nice right there before the goal line. But that play also means 2 guys had to miss a tackle. So
yeah, Jahdae Barron ran right past him in the green jersey.
Right. I mean, there's exactly a couple of those. But yeah, the physicality on defense, it's hard to figure it out. And then past a couple of throws, I don't think you can say much about Arch Manning because he did spend a lot of time scrambling because he didn't have the protection. Those defensive guys are told not to touch him, obviously. They can't go slapping at arms when he's trying to throw and stuff like that. You had a bunch of guys coming in. Anthony Hill. There were a couple of moments where I'm thinking, you know what? If that other guy is wearing a different color from Anthony Hill, that's what Texas fans are going to want to see. If I'm a Longhorn fan coming out of there, I'm thinking, I can't wait for a live rep with 0 coming after the other team.
Yeah, and that was Savion Red's assignment for the run blocking responsibilities, and he got blew up, which you expect that for a guy transitioning from quarterback in high school, receiver in college for a little bit. Now you're trying to play running back. So Anthony Hill did blow him up, and that was a nice play by him. Definitely got to be excited by, what he brought to the table, even though it was just a little bit. But Leona Lafau, I thought he did well for the time he was in. And it's just hard. You're right. It's just so hard to judge those defensive guys because there's the green jerseys. I don't know how they do it. Yeah. Like, I wouldn't be able to hit nobody. Like, how am I supposed to hit this guy? Like, I know I'm supposed to hit the running back, but these guys are coming across, some in the green jersey, some in the white, some in the orange. Like, it's tough.
You can't judge. If there was anything that looked like a quarterback run, can't judge that because they're not hitting them normally. And then, again, once the quarterback decides to leave the pocket and scramble a little bit, unless it's just a rollout and throw, you can't get a lot from that. So if you're a Longhorn fan, let us know what you thought of Jaden Blue. Obviously, that's going to be one part of the running back discussion. And obviously, C.J. Baxter, C4, got a touchdown as well. So let us know what you thought of those guys. Somebody says, seeing the trajectory of players, coaches, and the overall team, I fully trust these Longhorns. The T word, fully trusting these Longhorns.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
You could see a progression, I thought, Zay, with a lot of different players. Quinn Ewers looked more comfortable with certain things. I thought it was great. I'm always looking for just little details, little nuts and bolts. If you're a Longhorn fan coming out, not a lot of dumb offensive line stuff, right? Not a lot of dumb false starts. Holding is a subjective call, but things seem to run fairly smoothly. Thought all that was good. You talked about Worthy's development. I thought we could see that a little better on body control. Now, what'd you think of the deep ball throw to Worthy? Do you think the quarterback threw him out of bounds, or do you think he's got to adjust that once he catches it and stay in bounds?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
A little bit of both.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. He didn't quite throw him out of there, but it's one of those, he probably would have liked to put a little more air on it. But at that point with Worthy, yeah, I'd probably tell him to get the ballet shoes out and do a little high step in there.
Yeah, dive something.
Right. It needed to have a little.
You gotta dive. You gotta
stretch the ball, something like that.
Lingerie on that thing.
But that was obviously a nice throw, and I also thought that the just throw it downfield to throw it downfield, which we're going to see with Sark, I thought that had a little more control to it on Saturday. They didn't immediately go to, let's just chunk it all over the yard. I liked some of the mid-level and short routes that I saw. Like the third down play to Whittington. Little crossing, that nice little
3rd and 2.
Little cross route. Yeah. Even if, so on a third down to say, hey, let's go move these sticks. Because I agree with Sark about the quarterbacks. Hey, take what you can get, but that's also your play call. Your play call helps them get what they can get, and I liked a little bit of that. Little end-around handoff to Jonte Cook. I like that. Like the way they used him. I've said it. That's the guy. That's the freshman I was looking forward to seeing the most. And he turned the afterburners on the touchdown. But in a way, I like the mid-range and shorter stuff with Jonte Cook. I think he's going to be really helpful to Texas in that area.
Well, you got to utilize the running backs more. Without Bijan Robinson and Roschon Johnson, you got to utilize the running backs more in the passing game. And I thought Malik Murphy did that on that nice little shot who was that?
So Woods?
Kai Woods.
Yeah, Woods.
Yeah. Walk on. That was a nice pass to see Malik Murphy's arm. And just, certain things like that. There's so much attention on Xavier Worthy and JT Sanders and it's going to be A.D. Mitchell that I think Jordan Whittington, he's going to have a huge year. Those running backs catching the ball out the backfield. It's just all about Quinn Ewers taking what he gets and not always trying to get the deep play, the home run play. That was such an issue last year. And a big reason why that was an issue because of Sark's play calling. Sometimes you just got to let them know, take this instead.
Right.
Just do it.
In fact, I know it would have been boring to start the spring game this way, but go back and watch the very first play. When he tries to hit JT Sanders, they put Sanders kind of in a slot there left, which I like. You got to move him around, make defenses think about him. But he ended up running a route that was going to be tough. You had to really put that ball in a specific spot, which in the end Ewers didn't do. Plus, he was covered fairly well. Go back and watch the middle of the field. Jaden Blue's just standing there.
Right.
He is wide open, and he's 8 yards from everybody. And as the game went on, you can see Quinn Ewers is starting to see the middle of the field a little bit better. That's that next level in quarterback development. So he's going to see those tight end routes. He's going to see crossers. He's going to see his safety valve just released, just a running back waiting on him or a tight end waiting on him. So, but that's the very first play of the game. That would have been a fairly boring way to start a spring game. I get that, but that's a big play for him to look for a little bit later on like a second and long situation. Right. Mm-hmm. You're going to get a first down out of that, and it'll look easy, and you can let that receiver do a lot of the work for you. So we'll see if that progresses once we get to the year.
Yeah, just imagine like 10 personnel packages, just 4 wide receivers out there, Jonte Cook, A.D. Mitchell, Jordan Whittington, Xavier Worthy. That's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. That's absolutely ridiculous. And they're going to get so many one-on-one matchups that Steve Sarkisian loves to put guys in those situations. And we saw that a little bit on Saturday. So, yeah, sky's the limit. I know Quinn Ewers, the mechanics, there's certain things he still has to work on. He relies on that beautiful arm a little bit too much. Yeah, I get it. But, it'll come. I think it'll come. I really do. I think he's still a work in progress. He's still young. And you know what, Chad? I think a big reason why he doesn't put like his whole body into throws sometimes, I think he's afraid of getting hit. I think he's been hit a lot. And that shot he took from, who was it, Toto? 2-2. Alabama. Who hit that shot?
Was that Toto or somebody else?
I feel like it was Toto.
It may have been. I can't remember if it was him
But
or
he got
someone
hit
else.
in high school, too.
God. And that hit was extra bad because he went airborne for that hit.
And you see Rodgers, he has that quick release. Aaron Rodgers, he does that in the NFL to where he doesn't have to take shots because he can rely on the arm, but he's a 4-time MVP, so he could get away with it. Same with Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes, I think being the baseball player and getting in that stance, that helps him out too with the sidearm and different other throws.
Mhm.
But yeah, I just think Quinn Ewers, he knows that guys are coming. And his release, it's so quick, it's so fast, it's so pretty. I think that could get in trouble sometimes. But he also mentioned it in his presser, talking about how he hates playing against guys like Alfred Collins. Alfred Collins is 6'5", so he's going to be batting your balls down. So you think about that pass to A.D. Mitchell, it's going to be a little high because he's thinking about guys like that batting the ball down. So luckily enough, you have players that could go get it, like an A.D. Mitchell and Isaiah Nayor when he gets back, a J.T. Sanders, So that's the beauty of it. Even like you said, when there's mistakes, other guys can cover for it due to the talent that they have on the squad.
We got a couple texters, and I thought it was a little more of a basic name. Couple texters are saying they thought it was Dallas Turner that put that hit on him.
Okay.
Not Toto.
Okay. I don't know more than I do. I can't.
Because I didn't have the name in my head, but I thought it was a more basic name than Toto.
Right.
But whoever it was, that was a tough one. Yeah, that'll affect the way you think about defenders coming at you. Yeah, that's fair. A lot of good texts coming in. Somebody else texted before we hit this break. The haters are already out. LOL. Don't like what you see. Pick another team. Well, you don't have to go that far. I thought they looked good. Who is this walk-on Kai Woods? He looked explosive. Kai Woods did look pretty good.
This might be the first year Sark doesn't have a 1,000-yard rusher. Because there's a lot of people that can eat out here. A lot.
Are you calling an end to the run?
I'm not saying an end to the run. I'm just saying a lot of guys could eat.
I see. Okay.
So by committee, then they're going to be a lot of 1,000-yard rushers, but not maybe not a single one. We don't know what Jonathan Brooks is going to be when he comes back, but Savion Red, he showed a little something. Jaden Blue, he showed a little something.
Red does have a little bit more of a running back look to him than I thought he would. A little bit more of that look to it. And I know they
do run angry.
They're trying to make that Deebo Samuel comparison. Obviously, there's a ways to go before you get to that. But, yeah, there's a running back there.
He had one on the sideline where he lowered his head, and I don't know who hit him, but after he got up, he kind of like shoved his arm in like the dude's chest. I'm like, no, this your teammate, bro. Yeah. I get it.
Good physicality, though.
But it's your teammate. Remember that.
And also, I know there was criticism on the broadcast, at least LHN broadcast for it, but I think Jaden Blue might have made a good decision there on the sidelines, because if one of those young guys lights him up and he can't play, it's probably not good. So on the little trick pass and everything.
Robert Griffin,
That's I understand where RG3 was going with the criticism, but in the end, I think that might have been the choice.
Well, Xavier Worthy, he just called a pass before he threw that. Let him catch his breath a little bit. He huffing and puffing. You saw him like putting his hands on his hips and stuff.
Oh, you're saying Worthy had just caught a ball.
Yeah, he just caught a pass right before he threw that thing. I knew it wasn't going to be on the money.
Yeah.
I just knew it. I was like, oh, this dude tired. He ain't going to put this on the money. And sure enough.
Yeah, it was a little different. So, I'm not sure how to react to that play. You can let us know what you thought. Specs text line 337-3776. The reaction and overreaction to a spring game, because that's kind of what it's about. Coming up at 12:45. I'll give you a little bit on the Aggie spring game, and apparently the jokes are already flying about the Aggies coming out of the spring game over the weekend. But I'll tell you some of the things that I noticed. Up next, we'll get into a little NBA. Both LA teams get big wins to start their series, and two big injuries could affect everything. That's next on The Horn. All right, this is Chad. Let's talk Apple leasing. Any make, any model, any car, any truck, any SUV, whatever it is you're looking for, Apple leasing makes it even easier for you to get. They've got all kinds of contacts out there with all different dealerships. So if you're looking at two different things, hey, I got a Ford option, I got a Chevy option, I like this Honda, I'm looking at a Toyota Plus, oh, there's a Buick I really like. Okay, fine. They will take a look at all those. They'll look at all the rebates that are available, all that stuff the dealerships are going to be able to get for you, the discounts, the incentives, all those different things around holidays based on their selection and everything. They can get you all of that. They'll pass those savings on to you, but they'll take all the dealer hassle for themselves so you don't have to worry about it. All you worry about is you sign everything electronically, and with DocuSign, that makes that part so much easier. Then you're going to be paying for the part of the car that you're using. You're going to be taking care of your finances in a little bit more efficient way long term. They could walk you through the whole process, and it all starts with just a phone call. Call 346-9977. That's it, 346-9977. That's exactly what I did. Get that conversation started. They'll tell you just how easy it is. The easiest and safest way to get a new car is Apple Leasing. 346-9977, or check them out at appleleasing.com.
Chad and Zay.
What a good usage of the synthesizer there. Never really noticed that in the beginning of that song. That's fantastic. The legend, the king, Ronnie James Dio. This is technically Dio with What is this song? A Rainbow in the Dark?
Rainbow in
Right?
the Dark.
There it is. God, that's good stuff. All right, Dio gets us started today. We hope you are having a great week. Later on in the week, we are going to the L section for our album swap discussion, and I'm going to be listening to a Lil Wayne album. The first solo Lil Wayne record?
No,
Or the
not
first big
necessarily.
one?
The first big one.
Okay, I'm listening to The Carter
Actually, I don't
from
know.
04.
He had other big ones, but this is what took him to superstardom.
Gotcha. 2004's The Carter. I've started listening to that a little bit. And Zay is going to be listening to Living Colour's Vivid from the late 80s, 1988. I'm a Living Colour freak. It's one of my favorite bands ever. And I want Zay to check out a little Living Colour.
Yeah, Wayne, it's like Wayne having a few all-star appearances,
Uh-huh.
and then when he dropped the Carter, he started winning championships with those all-stars.
This is when it really got going.
This is when it got going.
So we'll get into that later in the week. We're already taking your thoughts on the Texas spring game. What did you think? Somebody texted, I've been saying for a few years now, our speed of play needs improvement, especially as we enter the fast-paced SEC. But that's all they texted. So did you think you saw better speed on Saturday? Let us know. It's 337-3776 on the Specs text line. We're getting reaction to the spring game. We'll get more of that from Joe Cook inside Texas on 3.com coming up at 1:05. Also, a reminder that the folks over at Bam Fam have another great camp coming up this weekend. It's for boys and girls, 3rd grade to 12th grade, although here on the page it says 5th grade recommended, so take that for what it's worth. 300 kids max per camp. A couple of big names, Fozzie Whitaker, and how about this, Roshan Johnson.
Big time.
Going to be a part of this camp right before the draft. If you want to check it out, go to bamfam.org for more information. That is this weekend.
Yo, there's been some big-time camps in the Austin area as of late.
Really
Bijan
has.
Robinson had a camp. Tyrese Hunter and Dylan Mitchell had their little basketball camp
Mhm.
over at Manor. That's big time. So, yeah, man, get out there. Let your kids know.
Yep, and shout out to that Bam Fam organization. They do great work there, and cool to hear that Roshan will be a part of it. Hopefully we'll be able to get Roshan and or Fozzie Whitaker on a couple of the shows this week to tell you a little bit more about it. All right, NBA playoffs got officially cranked up this weekend. Zay, we got winners on Saturday. Philly, Boston, the Knicks, and Sacramento in an exciting one. And then yesterday it was Lakers, Heat, Clippers, and Denver that all got wins. I'll let you start wherever you want. What jumped out at you this weekend?
Memphis Grizzlies are in some serious trouble. Ja Morant went down yesterday with a hand injury. They say that he's in jeopardy. Luckily, they don't play until Wednesday. So
This is where the schedule could help them.
This is where the schedule could help.
We talked about it helping the Lakers, but this is where it could help the young guys.
Yeah, and I talked about it before the series started. Not having Brandon Clark, their center, and Steven Adams is gonna kill them, and it showed at the end of the game. Obviously, not having Ja Morant that last 5 minutes hurt too, but Tyus Jones, he's a solid backup. When Ja Morant was down last year, they won a lot of games without him, so he's a really good backup, a guy that could probably start for a few teams in the league. And man, if LeBron James has the game that he has and they're still able to win the way they did, I don't know how the Grizzlies are going to come back with 80% Ja Morant, even if he plays at all. So Dylan Brooks, it's so interesting because Dylan Brooks, he's the defensive stopper for the Grizzlies. And his matchup, it should be LeBron. Like Taylor Jenkins, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to put your best players on the best perimeter or offensive player, and that's LeBron, and Dylan Brooks is the best defender. But LeBron was a decoy at the end of that game yesterday. Yeah, he hit a huge three, but they started putting him in the corner, and they started going through Austin Reeves, Hillbilly Kobe, who,
Dude, he had a game.
yo,
My God.
he's about 6'6", 6'7". He has point guard skills. I remember going up against him when he was at Oklahoma, and he was giving us the work, and I'm like, who the hell is this dude?
Yeah, was it half Wichita State, half Oklahoma?
Yeah, because he was a transfer, and I'm like, who is this dude? This dude got game, and I don't know if he'll be making money in America, but when he gets done with his college career, he gonna be making some money.
Let's talk about both ends of one of the best plays of that game. Reeves goes under the basket, throws a pinpoint behind the back pass to another guy that went crazy. What the hell got into Hachimura in that game? They combined for 52.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, everybody was always upset about Drew Timme, not Shaka Smart not getting Drew Timme because he's a Dallas kid and he goes up to Gonzaga. No, hell no. If you're a big man, you go play for Mark Few. Sabonis, Hachimura, Timme. I know there's plenty of guys. Olynyk. I'm missing so many guys, and they just developed those guys. And he was huge. The threes he hit,
Man, five out of six.
He had like 4 back to back to back to back.
Good
And
grief.
yeah, that pass by Austin Reeves. That's if people like just started watching the NBA because it's the playoffs and go from college basketball to the NBA. That's the separation. Because Austin Reeves is what, the 300-something player in the NBA. There's only 450 on the rosters.
Mhm.
He's not a top guy. And he made that pass like it was nothing, like he was magic or something.
So you're saying the difference is the ability to move the ball
Just stuff
that way?
like, just little
Little
details
things.
like that.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
no one in their right mind in college would throw a behind-the-back pass at that spot. In clutch time, in this magnitude, game 1 of the playoffs,
Yeah, that was incredible.
it's nuts.
I mean, he led them. Hachimura leads them in scoring, and next is Reeves. Then it's Davis's 22, and LeBron had a, for him, bad 21 and 11, and he was off.
Yeah.
That
He was
wasn't-
off. He had about 5 turnovers.
Yeah.
Anthony Davis, he scared everybody. You know he's going to scare you. I told you, he's going to scare you.
I was
He's
going
gonna
to
scare you.
say, is he okay? 'Cause
I guess.
I
I
don't-
don't know what they shot him up with when he went in the back.
I'm not a lip-reading expert, but we all saw what he said to someone. He said, I can't feel my arm. Like, whoa, whoa. So thankfully for the Lakers' sake, looks like he's okay. But then the Ja Morant thing, Zay, I asked you before the show, and obviously another big injury is what happened to the Greek Freak. Are these dudes launching too much, or are these just a couple of freak injuries, or are we getting airborne a little too much if we're superstars right now? What's happening?
Yeah, they're freak injuries, and it's because those guys are getting airborne. There's, something going around Twitter. Somebody says they should ban charges. No, they shouldn't. That's ridiculous. You're not banning charges just because
How would you do that?
Yeah, just because 2 top-tier players get hurt.
Right.
The point of a charge is to make you think about driving. Yeah, you're supposed to get hurt. Yeah, it's supposed to be painful. Basketball's physical.
Well, you don't have to take off.
Yeah, people
right?
people always hate on these NBA players and stuff, and I get it. Some of them are soft, and a lot of them won't be able to play in the National Football League. I get it. That's absolutely true. But it's a physical game, especially in the playoffs. So if somebody takes a charge, and if you're Ja Morant or Giannis, and you use your athleticism to get where you need to go, and you like to get airborne like that, yo, bruh, you better think twice before you do that again, because remember how you fell last time. Remember that pain, that arm? And
Right.
It's legal, too. I can't hack you like Bill Laimbeer or Rick Mahorn no more. So it's a legal way to, now, I don't like undercutting nobody, but both of those charges I saw
But legit, right?
look legit, even though they might have been blocks. But they were still legit. It
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
no
right.
dirty, like, I undercut somebody.
Yeah, Kevin Love
That's
is
a
not known for dirtying somebody in that situation,
No.
right? Yeah.
And you have to reward the defense somehow, especially in the NBA. You already have so many
That's
advantages. They took away hand checking, illegal defense, etc. So, yeah, I think that's bogus. Get rid of charges. No, develop a floater. Develop a float game, Giannis, Ja Morant. When you get in that lane, you see Kevin Love standing there. Nice little floater right over the top.
Yep.
Tony Parker never had those problems.
And that's what I thought on both of those plays. Both of those guys have either been developing more of a game or they already had it. Fellas, you got to come up with something other than crash through the window on that play. And I hate that they both got hurt there. Hopefully they're all right. With Giannis, it's a back, and obviously it's the hand with Morant, but they're both teams are concerned that they're not going to be able to play in game 2s. But what happens after that? This could affect obviously everything, one on each side. This could affect everything else in the East and the West.
It's a part of the game. You're right. It could definitely affect it, but it's a part of the game.
It
Ain't
is.
no way they should go to their little meetings during the summer and discuss getting rid of the charge.
Nah,
That'd be one
I
of the
agree.
dumbest things. I'd hate the NBA for that.
Yeah,
That'd be terrible.
I agree with you. Yeah, they just need a little variation there. Plus, all through my life, I'm not going to be the old man to sit here and say, they're getting hurt more than... No, man, I could take you back to series, way back in the day, final series, Eastern Conference, Western Conference finals, where an injury plays a huge role.
Yeah.
A massive role in the series. So it happens a lot.
John Morant, go watch Tony Parker film.
Go
watch it.
It's a good idea.
I never remember Tony Parker falling hard, really, because he always shot that floater. Oh, somebody's right there standing in my way. I'm not going to try to jump over him because I can already. So, float game, lay up left hand, right hand, be creative.
Maybe a little Steve Nash.
Yeah.
A little bit of that.
A little bit of that.
Yeah. Not a bad idea. We'll see what happens with those injuries. Tonight in the NBA, Game 2, Philly and Brooklyn. Sixers took care of Game 1 in that series, and then Sacramento and Golden State getting after it in Game 2. I got to get more of Zay's thoughts on that Game 1 because Sacramento did what we said they had to do. You got to keep this thing going where Golden State can't win on the road. You're going to bury yourself if you lose Game 1. Sacramento fought hard and got a win at the end of that one. So we'll talk about that as we move along. Everything's TNT tonight, by the way. Obviously, a lot of football talk, too. Some good reactions coming in on the spring game and other stuff. Specs text line 337-3776. I'll read a couple of texts. We got a response. The texter that said they wanted to see a little more speed as Texas heads towards the SEC. I asked, well, did you see speed in the spring game? They responded. We'll get you that. You let us know what you thought as well. And coming up in the crab bag, I'll give you a little Aggie spring game reaction. Apparently, there's a joke going around today. I'll tell you what it is on the Horn.
Chad and Zay.
Uh-oh. Did he go to the cover I mentioned the other day? Did he do it? Am I going to have to admit I like this band live on the air? Yeah, he did. He did. It's Radar Love from White Lion. Oh, my God. You know what? I admit it. I'm a full-grown man, and I love me some White Lion. Mike Tramp, Vito Bratta, and the crew. Here's to you. This is a great little cover. Great little cover. White Lion and Dio getting us started today. Saw White Lion open for AC/DC back in the day, if my memory serves. Hope you're having a good Monday. We're getting a lot of good texts in on the spring game and other things. Somebody was referencing the spring game, talked about the physicality needed, wanted to see improved speed of play for Texas, says especially as we enter the SEC. So I asked for more thoughts on, well, what'd you see Saturday? They said, I saw a little bit of it at the spring game. Hard to tell because of the nature of the game. That's certainly true. I'd like to see us call plays quicker and play with more fire. And then on the NBA, same fan says, as a side note, I think the Warriors are in trouble. Not a good away team walking into the beam. I'd be worried if I was Dubs fans. Fox and Sabonis went under the radar. Sacramento got winning game number 1. But, Zay, all Golden State has to do is win tonight.
Yeah, I want to say they're in trouble.
Got to steal it tonight.
Yeah, they're a championship team. You know, Draymond Green, he went on his little podcast, and he just straight up said, yeah, we good. We ain't tripping. De'Aaron Fox went 5 for 7, 6 for 3. He ain't supposed to do that. Trey Lyles, he ain't supposed to do that.
We really are in a different world. When I was growing up, I don't remember anybody ever saying, after the Celtics lost that game, Larry Bird went on his podcast and he said they're fine.
I'm glad you said Bird.
It's so modern, right? It's such
the most quiet dude, superstar in NBA history.
All right, let me pick another guy. How about the first team I remember locking into on a national level? If Dr. J had a podcast after, the Sixers won the game and he went on, they lost, and he went to talk about what he and Moses didn't do right in the game.
Yeah.
That's just weird.
Well, that's why they're a 3rd seed. You play off De'Aaron Fox because he's so fast, he's so athletic, and now, he's been in the league long enough where he could just work on that jumper every summer, and it's pretty. That lefty stroke, it's a pretty jumper. And Malik Monk, both those guys, John Calipari dudes, Kentucky guys, yeah, they're tough.
Sacramento won game 1. Let's see what they do tonight. That's 9 o'clock on TNT, and then Brooklyn and Philly is the starter, 6:30 on TNT. And if you haven't caught it, we're already into playoff vibes on the TNT crew. Ernie and Charles were going at it last night. I love those guys.
Seriously?
I love that show. Ernie and Charles. Charles's argument was that the Lakers wanted to go into the play-in game and that the Clippers should have tried to get into the play-in game. And Ernie was fighting him the whole way. Like, why would a team want to do that? That makes no sense. And Kenny and Shaq were just watching them go back and forth. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I saw Shaq's teal-ass suit.
Ooh, yeah.
I don't know about that one, brother.
Somebody said he looked like that big bottle of Listerine that you buy in the store. That was the best tweet they had last night. So that's all coming up on TNT tonight. All right, let's get into the crap bag. We'll talk about the Aggie spring game.
Chad's crap bag.
Crap bag. If you need an easy way to remember it, just think of a bag of crap.
Brought to you by AV Consultations, 255-8678, or go to avconsultations.com. Don't worry, Longhorn fans, not a lot of breakdown of A&M spring game today, but you're about a year away from caring again a little bit more about where the Aggies are and kind of what they've got going on. But also today, apparently, Zay, the Aggies have given everybody something to make fun of after the spring game. I didn't realize this today. I was reading a little recap of the spring game, and I rewatched last night, make sure I'd seen everything. And then I get to the bottom of the story, and I see 2023 Texas A&M Spring Football Awards. Defensive MVP, offensive MVP, special teams MVP, etc. And I sense that social media exploded on the Aggies for this one. Is that fair?
Did they pour Gatorade on Jimbo Fisher after the game?
I don't believe so.
Did they tear the goalpost down after the game? Aggie fans?
I did see a still shot. Okay, so the defensive MVPs were Bryce Anderson and Shamar Turner, and I think
there were 2?
There were two, and I think I saw.
Oh, man.
I think I saw either it was either a picture or a video of Jimbo on the field with Shamar Turner, and there was somebody else, and I'm assuming it was Anderson, and they were holding like little crystal
Oh, yeah, I saw the trophies.
trophies.
Mm.
So now let's be clear, though. These are spring football awards. So that's not okay at the end of the spring game to say, hey, here's who's done best throughout the spring. It's not like the year that A&M claimed the spring game as a victory. That didn't happen, although it did happen back then. So it's not that. It's not that, Zay. But are you uncomfortable with this one? Is this a jokeable offense that you would have awards at the end of spring?
It's very Aggie, but I mean, I feel like a lot of teams do this, but in closed doors.
This
You
should be behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes. And when the media talks to the coaches, they always ask, hey, who's showing out? Who looks good? Is there anybody that stood out? Do you have an MVP of the spring?
So
And
if
then
he
the
says
coach-
that, it's cool.
Yes.
But-
And the coaches need to start naming off people. Hey, this guy did this.
Okay.
This guy was a leader. You need to take that as an award.
Just don't need to present Crystal.
No.
Okay, fair enough.
That's ridiculous.
Look, this is a head coach that got presented a national championship trophy the day he was introduced.
Oh, my gosh.
That can mess with your brain, I guess. All right, now to the game itself, I just want to remind everybody, Zay, as we head into this season, there's a lot of talk about who left A&M, but I got a pleasant reminder of who's still there this year. Aniyah Smith did not leave. Aniyah Smith pulled himself out of draft contention at one point. He's coming back. Damani Richardson did the same thing, the defensive back from Waxahachie. He's back for another year. Evan Stewart, as of this weekend, was there and looked like the best receiver they have. If Evan Stewart stays, that guy can make some plays. Bobby Petrino needs to show him off a little bit, but Evan Stewart's there. Jalen Preston is back as well. I thought the two running backs looked all right. Amari Daniels, Reuben Owens, they got to figure something out there. Wegman and Johnson, the quarterbacks, they're all right. They're up and down. They'll make some really good throws, and then they'll make a couple throws that you have question marks. So here's my big question for Jimbo and Bobby Petrino. Can y'all build a quarterback that's not already built? Because I can name two quarterbacks you've been associated with, but those dudes were kind of built when they got there. They were kind of badass, and I think both of them won the Heisman. So if you don't have a Heisman-level quarterback, can you develop it to get you where you want to go? You know, can the Aggies get to, 8 wins this year?
Who was calling the plays?
I mean, Petrino was communicating with the quarterbacks a lot.
Okay.
I'm assuming it's Petrino. I saw a lot of formations that Jimbo Fisher is not exactly known for. I saw some 4 and 5 wides. Wegman had 47 pass attempts in the spring game, and Johnson had like 37. So if you're an Aggie fan, I would tell you that's pretty good news. They need to diversify that offense, spread things out, use Stewart, use your receivers. They got tight ends for days. I don't know how many of them are great, but they got tight ends to use. They just need to use them. Throw them the ball.
Yeah, there was one point of time I'd be tripping off of Evan Stewart, try to get him down here to the 40 acres, but as you saw this weekend, that wide receiver room is thicker than Meg Thee Stallion and Beyonce having a pillow fight.
Yeah, if there's one, that's true. Texas might want him in terms of what it would mean that you got him from A&M, but they don't need him for the room.
No, not no more.
Yeah, they don't need him for the room.
We good.
So
I'm good. We didn't even see no Casey Kane. We didn't see Isaiah Nayor. I'm good.
Now, I do feel that it's necessary to say this next part out loud. Since A&M has gone through what they've gone through the last few months, I should point out, Zay, that we are about to have, but we may be already there, we are in a transfer portal open window situation.
That's right. Just opened Saturday.
Until mid-May. I'm just letting everybody know that. So and that's for everyone. That's for whether you're an Aggie fan, a Longhorn fan, or whatever, that the transfer thing is out there. We had somebody text us earlier about this Bear Alexander story, the kid from Georgia.
Right.
Big D tackle.
Went to Den Ryan.
That's right. Got some
Cool
connection
with Anthony Hill.
to this part of the world.
Yeah, I saw Anthony Hill. I saw that tweet. That's what I'm talking about.
Yep, Longhorn fans are interested there. All right, so there you go. Some thoughts on the Aggie spring game. Also coming up in the Flex segment, I'll give a local star some love who had a decent day at the Aggie spring game. Also, we've got a commitment to tell you about in the Flex segment. It won't shock you, but we do need to tell you about it. Coming up next, we'll get back to the Texas spring game. game. The reaction from Joe Cook of Inside Texas and On3.com. Continue to let us know what you thought of Texas, of Ewers, of Murphy, of Arch Manning, and all the rest. 337-3776 is that Specs text line. Hour number 2 coming up on the Horn. All right, how about hour number 2 on a Monday? We hope you had a great weekend. Obviously, breaking down the Texas spring game. A lot of NBA talk with those series underway and big injuries that could get in the way of a couple teams' runs. We will continue that discussion. And last hour, just trying to have a little bit of a realistic conversation. Just tell you what I saw from the A&M spring game, but no. Apparently, when A&M gives out spring awards, everybody flips out. Somebody texted us, did the MVP also get a bowl of weed? How dare you? How dare you? This says the MVPs both get a bathed sheep as a prize. That is unfair and obviously a terrible old joke, and how dare you? This says it's like a participation award. This text says, hey, Zay, the Aggies are the only team in the country that's 1-0 and the season hasn't even started. Okay, let me be very clear. The Aggies did not count the spring game as a win as far as I have seen. Now, did that happen one year? Yeah, it did. It did, and I called him out for it when it happened, and it was not fun to talk about, and it was embarrassing. But they didn't do that this year. They just gave out some crystal awards on the field after the spring game this year.
Yeah, there's ways you could have went about it where it would have been so Aggie and just whack. It was whack. I'm sorry. It was whack. I see you Aggies on social media trying to justify it. You can't. Just let it roll with all the other weird ish y'all got going on.
I was going to say, what's the justification? Because to me, the justification is simple. We're different. That's it. Just say that. If you're an Aggie, just go, hey, stuff's different here. You don't get it. That's the whole thing. One of the Aggie mantras is, from the outside looking in, it's hard to understand. And from the inside looking out, it's hard to explain. That's one of their big things. Just say that.
Yeah.
Just say that. I mean, then it would sort of try to explain what you did. All right, so we talked a little bit about that. Obviously, the big focus is the Texas spring game, what you thought of the quarterbacks, what you thought of that running back room, how about that receiver room, and what stood out. Let's get back to the discussion. I'm Chad Hastings. He is Isaiah Collier, and joining us on the Vaqueros Cafe and Cantina hotline, we do it every Monday about this time with Joe Cook of Inside Texas on3.com. He's at Joseph Cook 89 on Twitter if you want to give him a follow. Joe, how are you?
Doing great, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, as always, for the time. It is Overreaction Monday. What have you seen so far from Texas fans and their reaction to what they saw Saturday?
It seems like there's a lot of reaction to other people's reaction. I think a lot of the country tuned in thinking that Arch Manning was going to be, taking second-string snaps. Well, for everybody who pays close attention, that wasn't happening once Malik Murphy came back. But I think, the best part about this game is that there's not much to react to. You had arguably two big plays, I guess with Jaden Blue's long run and Jonte Cook's long touchdown reception from Murphy. Other than that, no turnovers. So no turnovers were given up and no turnovers were forced. And the run game didn't really have, a ton of big plays. Just kind of one of those evenly matched games that doesn't indicate a lot, doesn't indicate, one side of the ball being significantly ahead of the other, although I'd argue the defense probably had the better day. You saw good things from the quarterbacks. You didn't see anything that makes you think, oh, my gosh, what's going to happen here? What are they going to do? And I think that was the best possible thing that could have happened coming out of the spring game on Saturday, in addition to there being no injuries.
Yeah, good point.
Joe, last year with this wide receiver core, it didn't seem like Steve Sarkisian and his coaching staff had much confidence other than Xavier Worthy. I know Casey Kane had some drops, and as good as Jordan Whittington is, I don't think he was utilized like he should have been last season. But this year, you saw the A.D. Mitchell catch one-handed. You saw Jonte Cook go on the sideline, even more. He had a couple of drops, but then he bounced back and looked good. How deep is this wide receiver team to where now Sark, Isaiah Nair, Casey Kane, they didn't even play. Now Sark has so many pieces to play with. It might be one of the deepest wide receiver cores in the nation.
Yeah, absolutely. Once Isaiah Nair went down last year, it kind of presented a problem for Steve Sarkisian because they didn't have someone at that, third wide receiver spot. Luckily, he had Bijan Robinson and Roschon Johnson to where he could throw Jatavian Sanders out there and then an extra O lineman as a blocker. So to help those guys out, those rushers out, and still have his top two receivers on the field with Jordan Whittington and Xavier Worthy. Although Whittington at times, because of the spot he was in, a little bit miscast. He's not really a guy who's best utilized trying to get off of press coverage. He's good in the slot, while Xavier Worthy can do that. But now, you just mentioned it. Now without Bijan and Roschon, you're probably still going to have a rushing offense that you want to emphasize, just because that's what Steve Sarkisian tends to do. But now you have some more pass weapons, at least in the receiver room, to where even if, let's say you're giving Xavier Worthy a break, or you're giving Jordan Whittington a break, well, then you have Jonte Cook, who just made a great play and is highly rated, and moved ahead of some of the guys behind him. That at least guys who were ahead of him at the beginning of spring camp seems to have moved up a little bit there. DeAndre Moore, despite that drop, had a good, some tough yardage and some tough plays that he made. And then you have, the depth at that other wide receiver position with Mitchell, with Kane, and with Nayor. So now you have the guys, and you have the guys pretty much at the 2 deep level, to where you're going to be able to do what you want on offense with a good mixing and matching of that top 6 or top 7. And that's definitely not what Texas had last year. You could probably argue it went as far as maybe 3, maybe 4, which is why you saw, the tight ends utilized so much. So seeing the receivers do that, seeing them get open, seeing them make the right reads, there didn't seem to be very many like miscommunication plays or anything like that. Balls thrown to the wrong spot. So all in all, pretty good. And, we didn't even really get to see much of Javian Sanders. He was targeted twice, and then that was kind of about it for his day. So there's more to see from the tight ends. But as far as those pass catchers go, everybody showed something. And the quarterbacks were able to make use of the talent in that position group.
Talking with Joe Cook of Inside Texas. Let's go to those pass throwers, Joe. I could argue that it worked out pretty well, I think, for Texas, in terms of the way the quarterbacks looked. Obviously, Arch Manning showed that there's going to be, progression to have. He was there with, second and third team guys as well, but certainly didn't do anything to make you think he should be the guy. And like you said, the national folks thought one thing. You guys have been telling us what's actually going to happen. But I thought from Ewers to Murphy, you also got the message, if you're a Texas fan, that your quarterback has developed some things that are positive. And then if you need a backup, looks like you got one in number 6.
Yeah, and you've got one who, sometimes in these situations, there are guys who lose the deep ball ability, or there's something that you kind of take a step back with when you think about going from starter to backup. And, I still think there's a reason Quinn Ewers was named the starter, obviously, but when you go to Malik Murphy, you're not losing someone who can't push it's not like you're going to someone who can't push the ball downfield. Malik Murphy can definitely push the ball downfield. And as we saw, he can, throw accurately while in the pocket and make reads from the pocket, not be afraid to stand in there. So he may have had the best game of the day. I guess you could argue Jaden Blue may have had a good showing, but I think it's tough to think that Malik Murphy didn't have the best performance. And that's even with Quinn Ewers going, 16 to 23 or 19 to 23, something like that, and making good throws and making good reads and decisions. So, it does show exactly what you're talking about, that, Steve Sarkisian does have a backup who he can probably feel pretty good about throwing in the live situation. And that's a great thing to have, and something that he's needed all 2 years that he's been here.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, this running back room, I don't know if Steve Sarkisian is going to have 1,000-yard rusher this year, and not to discredit, who's in the room. It's just they have so many guys. Everybody can eat. A lot of different guys should be able to produce, and that's the exciting thing, especially when you lose Roschon Johnson and Bijan Robinson. But with what you saw on Saturday, Jalen Blue, like you said, he had that nice run. Even though he probably would have gotten tackled, they still counted as a touchdown. And Savion Red, you've been hearing so many good things about him in spring camp, and you saw those flashes. I mean, he might need to pick up a couple blocks, but he'll get used to that. What'd you see with the running back room on Saturday?
Yeah, I think you saw a running back room where it's guys almost fighting for it's hard for me to get a good read on that without Jonathan Brooks being there. I think that's a player who, because of what he's shown so far and what he knows how to do, it's going to be tough for me to think that that's not going to be the guy once fall camp rolls around. Same thing kind of operates with Keelan Robinson. You know, he may not be a between the tackles guy, but he can do that, and he's probably going to be right there behind Jonathan Brooks when it comes to, you know, finding carries. That said, you know, there's not that main guy like you were talking about. So there's going to be opportunities for CJ Baxter. And, you know, one thing to think about with him is that he's only had, he's been on campus for 3 months. There's a lot of opportunity for physical development with him going forward, especially over the course of the summer when he's lifting weights and getting the nutrition needed to put on, you know, some of the pounds that his frame can hold while still using that, while he still maintains that athletic ability. So I think that CJ Baxter we may see come, you know, September is a different player than the one we saw the other day. Now he still has to get down the offense and learn some of the, you know, new responsibilities, whereas, you know, basically in high school they just turned and gave him the ball and let him do whatever with it. He's got to, you know, read blockers and work on pass protection. They all probably have to work on pass protection. But I think what you saw is that if something were to happen to Jonathan Brooks or Keelan Robinson going forward, then there are enough players in the aggregate to, you know, somebody will be a hot hand and they can figure out who that is on a game-to-game basis. But I'm not sure if I saw anybody who's going to overtake those top two guys, at least, you know, after these 15 practices.
Talking with Joe Cook inside Texas, again, at Joseph Cook 89 on Twitter, if you want to give him a follow. Joe, let's go to the defensive side of the ball. If I was a Texas fan, I definitely am looking forward to seeing Anthony Hill go after some dude wearing a Rice helmet to start the season. But obviously you can't go full blast in this type of setting. What stood out for you defensively? What'd you like, or are there any concerns for you?
I think one thing that the stat book didn't reflect, and that, you know, maybe this is a result of having an offensive-minded head coach, was that there were a lot of pressures and pass rushes that probably got home that they let play out. And that's kind of what you do in spring games. Like, you know, probably in the film room, they'll go back and say, hey, good job, Barron Sorrell, you got him, but we let the play go just so we could get this, you know, this receiver a catch or something like that. So more often than was recorded in the stats or, you know, the result of the game, there were some stops and there were some sacks. And some of them came from Ethan Burke, some of them came from Barron Sorrell, and then, like you mentioned, some of them came from Anthony Hill. I was excited to see that Jaylan Ford hadn't missed a step. There was a play early in the contest where there were two pulling blockers, and he just rammed right through them and messed the play up. And to CJ Baxter's credit, he cut it up and made a good play out of it. But Jaylan Ford knew where to go, and I was really happy with the corner play. You know, there were some plays from even some younger guys like Malik Muhammad who, you know, had some real sticky coverage on Xavier Worthy, and you saw Ryan Watts make good plays. I really just wanted to see how the communicative positions worked with some mixing and matching. And I think it did all right. So again, there was only two real bust plays. And one of them, I think, featured, you know, there were going to be times that, like you said, that tackle would have been made, but it was a spring game. But I felt like the defense was solid, not really spectacular, but solid and at a level they needed to be at this juncture.
Joe, Quinn Ewers really looked comfortable on Saturday. Looked like a guy that's had a year under his belt, and just talk about the maturity from the hair to, you know, toning up his body. And then I love what he said in the presser after the spring game, just taking ownership, understanding he doesn't want to let the Texas fan base down. And we know how this fan base could be, but just the fact that he took ownership in that and he knew that he didn't have the best season to put his team in the best situations. What did you see of Quinn Ewers on Saturday and just this spring moving forward from a leadership standpoint to his mechanics and the way that he's going about things?
Yeah, you'll still see a little variance in mechanics that maybe you'd like to have shored up, but still he has the ability to make the throws even with off mechanics. But last year you'd see off mechanics a lot. Now you're not seeing that. It's definitely, more often than not, he's stepping into throws and doing the right thing. And I think a pass over the middle to Jordan Whittington may have been one of the best examples of that. It was a 3rd and 14, something like that. And he just, stands in the pocket and doesn't really have to load up. He just throws, and he throws naturally, and it gets to Whittington. And it looked, good, looks good mechanically, looked good in all the different ways. So it's just a testament to that work he's put in. And I think he does deserve credit, because when you show up at a place and, you've heard so many great things about you, whether from coaches or media, and you don't really get a chance to prove it and don't have to prove it until, a certain point last year, it can be easy to think you have it figured out. And that's what he thought. And then he gets to a point where he doesn't have it figured out, but there's not a ton of time during the year to make those changes. He did during the bowl game. He did over the course of the off season, and he's really grown and starting to look more like the player that Texas fans wanted back when Tom Herman was head coach, and now expect to see with Steve Sarkisian as head coach. And that bodes well. He still just has to prove he's got the processing ability down. His ability to do the mundane has always been what's going to elevate his ceiling, because we see those throws to Worthy and we see those other throws to other receivers that he makes look effortless. But he's got to be able to do the mundane, and then use those mechanics that he's built up and shored up in helping the rest of his game.
Joe, before we let you go, give me a thought on this Texas baseball team. The good news is they win a series in Waco. The bad news is on the back end of this pitching staff. How concerned are you about what the bullpen gave up in Waco? They got the 2 out of 3, but there was some sloppiness there.
Yeah, that's definitely not something. In the bullpen, it's been a tough thing this entire season. A lot of, I think even David Pierce has tried all different solutions he could think of, just mixing and matching guys. LeBaron Johnson's been someone who started games, and then there he is going and closing it out. And same with Travis Staley, and same with Zane Morehouse. And, he's just throwing any solution he can find. And at least on 2 of 3 nights, he found it. But, like you mentioned, kind of just barely. Got through Baylor, though. So I think any weekday matchup has to just be about, in my opinion, getting guys opportunities and getting them confidence, because this is going to be a part of the schedule where I don't think there are going to be a ton of really, really challenging midweek games. I think they got Abilene Christian on Wednesday. I don't even know if they have to travel again for a midweek game. So these are going to be opportunities to either extend some guys, maybe get them 3, maybe get them 4 innings, but that's probably the cap of it. And I think that's going to be where you see David Pierce just really try to get guys opportunities to build confidence, kind of like they did, during the pre-Big 12 schedule. And you saw how much that helped the offense, how much it helped the defense to where they're still sitting atop the Big 12 halfway through their conference slate. So, that's going to be the thing that really impacts how far the season can go, is which bullpen pitchers can provide the stability needed, and who can be trusted to close things out at the end of games, because that's still been a question at times, as we saw all 3 days this weekend.
And it is ACU coming up on Wednesday for Texas, so no Tuesday game this week. It's a Wednesday game over at the Dish, 6:30 start on Wednesday. That's Joe Cook, Inside Texas on 3.com. He's at Joseph Cook 89 on Twitter.
Hey, Joe, before you go, do you know who won the awards for the spring game this weekend?
Oh, here we go.
Do you know?
I don't know if the school we cover issues spring game awards.
Okay. Just making sure we didn't miss nothing, you know?
I just want to make sure we're clear. These are not spring game awards. They were spring football awards, like the full breadth of spring practice.
Okay.
That's a lot of practice, fellas. That's a lot of work. That's what these awards are for.
I've always heard that if you have to explain yourself, that it kind of lessens the impact of what you're trying to, the point you're trying to make.
Yeah, I hear that too, Joe.
Like I always say, Joe, don't ever bring logic to an Aggie fight. Sometimes that's not going to be a good thing. That is Joe Cook. We appreciate it as always, brother. Have a good week.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Much appreciated.
Thanks, Joe.
There you go. Yes, the Aggie Spring Awards, football awards, are getting some attention after the weekend. They were, after all, presented on the field after the spring game, and there was Crystal Awards, and yeah, people kind of got on the Aggies a little bit, as it can happen. Somebody texted, so Aggies and Colts are basically the same thing. There's no need to go. Why would you need to? Certain elements? Maybe. But you don't need to go all the way that far. We do appreciate those texts coming in. Specs text line 337-3776. Give us your thoughts on the Longhorn spring game. What did you like? What did you not like? And if you do have some kind of comment on any other spring game you saw, there were a lot of them this weekend, not just Texas and Texas A&M. There's a lot of them out there. Coming up, it's our Flex 30 segment. We'll talk some Texas basketball as the portal continues to be open for a little while longer. What is Rodney Terry trying to do about it? Plus, if you were surprised on this one, then you haven't been paying attention. We'll get you that commitment announcement next on The Horn.
Chad and Zay.
Hope you're having a good Monday. We're talking spring game stuff coming out of the weekend, NBA playoffs, fired up, some NFL news in the NFC East. Jalen Hurts, highest paid player by average salary now ever, $255 million extension. We hit that one. All right, Zay, this song, when you first started playing it, okay, now I'm going to a different, so is this Best of My Love?
Yeah, that's right.
Is that right? Now I got to come up with who it is. Is it a group name or a single name?
Group name.
It's a group name. Yeah, I don't have it. I don't have it. Who is it?
The Emotions.
Yeah, I wasn't going to come up with The Emotions. Dadgummit. Good song. I don't know enough about The Emotions.
Yeah, this might be it. I'm not gonna lie.
Maybe the one?
Yeah, because I didn't even know who sung this song, so this might be it.
I did recognize the song, though. The Emotions, White Lion and Dio get us started today. Hope you're having a good Monday. Thanks to Joe Cook for his time. Back into more spring game talk, NBA playoff talk in the 2 o'clock hour. We'll do a little Texas basketball talk here and get you an update on a commitment that we knew was coming. Now it's official. Let's get into the flex segment. Here we go.
Flex ATX for the best high school sports coverage. Listen to the Horn and go to FLXATX.com. Flex 30 is brought to you by Brain Vault. Brain Vault is a revolutionary and patented mouthguard that has been proven to help reduce the risk of concussion. Visit BrainVault.com and join the movement.
Yeah, this one's not going to be a shock to you if you're a Texas fan and you've been paying attention, or for that matter, if you are. I think it's Florida, Clemson. Maybe LSU was involved, but in the end, we knew it was going to be Michigan for Blake Frazier, and he made that official over the weekend. Now, of course, this is an official commitment. Anything can happen up to the moment they sign. Zay, Blake Frazier is a senior this next year at Vandegrift, one of the talented offensive linemen there. We've been talking about him for a while, and once again, his dad played at Michigan on the offensive line with Tom Brady. So many have thought for a while that it was going to be maize and blue, and he did tweet that out over the weekend. And you know that he realizes when he starts his tweet with, I guess we all knew this was coming, ... go blue. So all the best to Blake Frazier. He is now made that official. No big shock, Zay, but we'll watch him this year at Vandegrift, and then he's headed off to Michigan. That's got to be so cool for that family.
Yeah, congrats to Blake. Real suspenseful, Blake.
Yeah, right.
Real suspenseful.
Hey, what did I tell y'all? A couple weeks ago when he tweeted out that old picture of himself as a little bitty kid wearing that big Michigan helmet, that's when you really knew you had no shot.
Yeah, he ain't try.
No shot.
He ain't have to try at all. But, yeah, well done. And hardball, lucky to have him. That's a big-time get all the way to Texas to get that type of player.
Yeah,
it's huge.
Big-time stuff, and obviously got the family connection there. So that family's going to be excited to continue to check out Michigan games. Also, let's give a shout-out to Jacob Henry, also of Vandegrift now. I got to get used to that. Jacob Henry no longer at Lake Travis. He's over at Vandegrift. And after having a good conversation with the coaches, he announced that he's gotten an offer from Northwestern State. I'm guessing that list will grow for Jacob Henry as he gets ready to head into this next year at Vandegrift. And remember, he is a class of 24 guy as well. So this will be his senior year. All right, Zay, in terms of spring game stuff, we will get to a couple guys. I wanted to ask you, what you think of Ethan Burke?
I thought he did well. He had a sack and he had a couple of tackles. Again, it's just so hard to really focus on the defense knowing that it's the spring game. But I thought Ethan did well, and he brought some promise to the edge. Now, there still needs to be a lot of work with those edge players. We know the pressured rate last year and the sack total, that's a bad ratio. Not good. For as many pressures that they got, They got to get the quarterback down way more, and that's a point of emphasis for Pete Kwiatkowski's crew. But yeah, man, I thought Ethan Berg, he showed why he was that big time recruit coming out of Westlake High.
Looks like he's been in the weight room too.
Right, yeah.
Developed the body's developed in this over this year.
Yeah, I think
He's imposing out there.
Yeah, I think he came in kind of like Holm Vasic around 230, and now he's about 250. So, yeah, I like that for him.
Yeah. Also, shout out to a guy we forgot to mention coming in on Friday. Colin Page got a little time. The running back that went to Anderson.
That's right.
He got a little action as well. I thought Ethan Burke looked good. Also, I was going to mention on the A&M side of it for Westlake, Pierce Turner, the receiver, I guess technically he'd be a tight end, 6'3", 195, red shirt freshman, caught a touchdown in the Aggie spring game and had another catch or two. So there you go. It's a rarity for the Westlake guys to go to A&M, but there are a few of them over the years.
Yeah.
It's happened.
Yeah, Swope.
Little Ryan Swope, little, what was Schrader's name? Coach Schrader's kid's name? Chad Schrader. Oh, lightning quick.
Yeah.
Lightning quick out there. So shout out to those guys who did well in a spring game. Also, Zay, let's mention this Texas basketball portal stuff. Over the weekend, we can kind of get people updated. As I heard the story yesterday developing on Jaden Nunn, a 6'4" guard out of VCU that came to visit the Longhorns this weekend. So he's in the portal. And there's also the big center. Is it from Virginia or?
Yeah.
Is that the one?
Kendrick.
Yeah, apparently he's going to visit Texas this week. So for those fans wondering, hey, what's Rodney Terry doing in terms of the portal? They're going to be talking to some guys this week, but there's also some names kind of being taken off the list for Texas that you updated me on. I had not heard a couple of these. Let's update everybody.
Yeah, that guy from Virginia is Kendrick Sheardrick, the big 6'11",
Shedrick,
7-foot
right. Okay.
center. And yeah, Chad, unfortunately, Rice transfer Quincy Oliveri is going to Xavier. So, yeah, like we just beat them though. Like obviously he didn't care about that. We just beat them.
Sometimes that stuff
the
doesn't matter.
facility,
Yeah.
It don't.
Sometimes
so,
it doesn't matter. Sometimes it really doesn't matter. Now, is that a guy? So he was at Rice. Is he a Texas guy?
Yeah.
Do we know?
He can hoop. Yeah, he's a Texas guy.
Okay.
He can put the ball in the bucket. He's a Texas guy. He dropped 28 on us.
It's not like he's got family in Ohio, is what I'm saying.
Nah.
Okay. All right.
Nah, so.
That's not good. That's
It's
not good.
what it is.
What about the cat at Oral Roberts?
He visited Kansas State this past weekend. I haven't heard anything yet.
Okay.
So that's good. Max Asmus, it's between Kansas State and Texas.
Because your concern is that body-wise and basketball-wise, he would kind of match up with
to Marquise
Noel.
Noel.
Yeah,
Exactly.
with what
but
they
don't
just
play
had.
alike, though.
Okay.
You know, Max Asmus is a scorer. You know, Marquise Noel, he did both. So I don't know, but Jerome Tang, he cool, man. He be playing little baby in the locker room, and they be freestyling and stuff, and they do it big down there in Manhattan. He's done a good job, so I wouldn't knock him for going there, but we know all we've lost in Texas basketball as of late. It'd be good to bring somebody in.
Somebody texted, and I told y'all his mama went there and his mama went there. Frazier to Michigan. I think they typed that wrong. His dad went there and his mama went there. I think they both went there. Yeah, that is a Michigan family. Somebody else texted, Zay, how concerned are you about the portal acquisitions or lack thereof in basketball?
A little concerned.
A
little concerned.
You told me earlier you were kind of looking at your phone this weekend.
Yeah, a little concerned.
Kind of checking it out. I guess so. In terms of what would be needed, what would be helpful, like is Jaden Nunn, is that a name that was kind of on your radar? Is that a name that will make people react? He's a sophomore. He's only played 1 year at VCU, if I'm seeing it correctly.
Yeah, he averaged around 9 points, so he's solid. He's a solid point, tough, athletic. So they're locked in on him. Jeff Howe just texted me, said they're locked in on him. They weren't as locked in on Oliveri, so that's good. So they're locked in on Nunn and Asmus. And both of those guys like the ball in their hands. So that's always good when you're trying to develop a team. You need guys that can handle that rock, especially since you got no guards at the moment.
Now, Asmus, I don't know, we've talked about him. Do you know where he's from? Like
Dallas.
Okay.
Yeah, Dallas.
That would explain how he ended up at Oral Roberts because it's not that far away. But then, okay, so he'd have more connections as a Texas guy than he would going up to Kansas State.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're a Longhorn fan, keep your fingers crossed on that. But that transfer portal goes about, another month or so? May 11th-ish, something
Yeah.
like that is when
Yeah.
that closes down.
Yeah.
Football and basketball, they close about the same time, I think, mid-May.
Right.
Something like that. And now we are into such a fascinating time in football because this just didn't used to be the way. In the old days, you could obviously transfer after the spring game. That makes total sense. But not like this. Not like spring games happen and then the door just swings open. Hey, have you had your one acceptable, it doesn't matter transfer? No. Well, you can if you want to go. So you go through these spring games. Did you get the reps you wanted? Did you have the performance you wanted? Did the fans rip you on social media afterwards? And you decide that you need something fresh.
Yeah, and you could see why Brennan Thompson dipped. You could definitely see why he left. Everybody's wondering, he had so much promise, a speed guy, and he does, and he did here. But with what we saw on Saturday, with guys out like Isaiah Nayor and KCK, who I expect to get some reps next year, especially Isaiah Nayor, that wide receiver room thick, boy.
Yeah, it is.
And I love that it's thick. It needs to be thick. It always has to be that way because there was a point in time where it wasn't very recently.
We've talked about this guy a few times in the flex segment, even though he was at DeSoto. What'd you think of Jonte Cook?
He got that dog in him.
Like the long touchdown?
Now, he roasted the walk-on that passed by Malik Murphy. I was a walk-on cornerback guard. But still, he showed flashes of that 5-star guy coming out of DeSoto that's highly touted.
Also for Jonte Cook, the good news there, 2 full steps into the end zone before dropping the ball, and no back flips, front flips, or anything that got him flagged.
That type of guy.
I'm just saying there was no extra attitude that got him
yeah,
flagged.
but you saw him wilding.
That was good.
You saw him wilding that 7-on-7 a couple of years ago, and you've held that against him ever
No,
since.
I'm just saying that's all good news. I might tell him that when there's a better guy covering him on that play, let's not have the ball that low as you're crossing the goal line. Maybe we keep that tucked. Maybe we keep that tucked.
Yeah, you tuck it, make sure you have both hands on the ball when you cross the end zone. Don't celebrate, just hand it to the ref. Old school football, just like my guy Dick Buckus used to do it back in the day.
You know, Tiki Barber used to fumble, and then Tom Coughlin helped him to not fumble.
I love the way Tiki carried it, man.
Have I told you that story, Junior?
No, I told you that's what I was looking forward to seeing. I was looking forward to seeing Jonte. I wish they'd have gotten him a couple more routes in that mid-range area because I think him on slants and crossing routes are going to be really interesting.
See, that's what I'm nervous about. Guys not eating. Guys out here hungry because there's
Right.
not enough ball to go around for everybody.
Yeah, Jordan Whittington looks really good in the slot.
Oh, he knows he's going to be open a lot.
Man, that's a tough cover. For most of the teams Texas is going to play, that is a tough cover. Good luck when 13's in the slot with everything else they could do and all the stuff they could call around him. That's tough to deal with.
Yeah, and Joe is right. With Isaiah Nayor being out last year, it put a lot of guys out of place. And with how deep they are this year, it don't matter. It really doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Guys can move around and guys could really thrive just because everybody is so cold. You can't focus on just one dude. And that's a beautiful thing. A.D. Mitchell, that dude has some pro-level he got some pro-level skills.
Yeah, that was obviously really nice play to go up the ladder and grab that one. And obviously once it turns into real reps, he was wearing a green jersey.
Yeah.
So there's a specialized quality to him in the game. Nobody's really allowed to put hands on him in any way. But a catch like that cannot be ignored. And that's also what we didn't see enough of last year. Quarterbacks are not going to be perfect. So can somebody make a play for them? And we didn't see enough of that last year. That's a big moment too. Go make a play. If the quarterback gets it close sometimes you can go be a freak too, and that's what AD did.
Yeah, so the Kool-Aid's still in the jar.
Okay.
Now I'm
You were
gulping the
sipping.
tank. I'm
Sipping a
gulping
little
the
bit?
tank now,
Okay.
though.
All right.
I'm gulping the tank because we still don't know how Steve Sarkisian's play calling is going to be. We don't know. You could get cocky and arrogant like we've seen, and things could go wrong there. So sometimes keeping it simple and just letting your guys, your talent that you've been searching for ever since you got here from Alabama, let your talent thrive. Just put the ball in their hands. It don't got to be an over 25-yard throw. It don't.
Mm-hmm.
It does not.
All right. Also coming out of this weekend, it does feel like Longhorn fans specifically are enjoying what they saw from their team, and they also enjoyed what they saw out of the once and future rival. This text comes in on the Specs text line 337-3776. Who knew we were in award season in football? Ha, ha.
See, there's a way y'all could have went about it.
On the text.
Like, y'all could have done it. Y'all could have filmed it still, but behind the scenes of a social media team where everybody's in the locker room, where everybody's chilling in the film room, so you could showcase your facilities and stuff and just say, hey, we're going to do an offense and defensive spring. Who had the best spring? MVP. And that would have been a little bit better, but after the game, though.
Zay, be honest. Once they decided to make crystal trophies of the offensive and defensive MVPs for spring, would it have mattered how they presented them? Be honest. Would it have mattered? Video gets out on social media of Jimbo presenting crystal to the guys in the locker room. Do you really think that goes over any better?
It wouldn't have been good, but it wouldn't have been this bad.
Okay. Because out on the field is different.
It is.
See, I thought one of the jokes was going to be that the Aggies only had 75 yards on the field because they're doing construction in one end. They only went one way the whole time. It was like when we were kids and the dad of the guy you were playing in his yard had a badass car and he would tell you, hey, y'all aren't going that way. So we had to go the other way the whole time. We couldn't go to that one end zone. That's what I thought the joke was going to be. Hey, Aggies, how come you couldn't get 100 yards? What's going on? But no. The Aggies provided the joke with the crystal.
Ain't Kyle Field enough or big enough? Y'all need more construction? What y'all doing?
I honestly don't know. I didn't realize it was happening. And then I tune in and I realized, wait, what's going on down there in the south end? I don't know, man. They're in a building mode.
All right.
They love to build, loving to get, I guess, bigger, maybe put more seats in, more suites. I have no idea. More new scoreboard. I don't know what's going in. And no to the person who says that they hung a banner. We have no proof that the Aggies hung a banner after the spring game. And unlike years ago, they did not claim the spring game as a victory. Actually, I probably should go double check the schedule on that one, but I don't think they claimed it as a victory.
Yo, I think those dudes that won the awards are getting their numbers hung up in the stadium.
That is not true. They're not. They're
retired.
No, they're not.
Never worn again.
They're not retiring the numbers just because they were spring MVPs. Good grief. Coming up next, where are we at in society with Zay? Back to the spring game talk with the Longhorns at 2 and the NBA playoffs off and running. And there are 2 huge injuries that could affect everything. We'll see if we have any updates for you later on The Horn.
Chad and Zay.
All right, rolled it through a Monday. A lot of spring game talk. Longhorn fans giving us their reactions. A lot of folks reacting to the Aggie spring game, not the game itself. The fact that they presented spring football awards after the game on the field. Shockingly, social media had a reaction. All right, Zay. Oh, interesting. That means this is an old school. I've heard that before. That means this is the song that was sampled later. I don't remember either artist, though. That's the problem. All right, so who's this?
Chicago.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Street Player.
Oh, wow. Now I feel like I'm learning something. Yeah, the fall into my mind. Who is that later did that? Was that like Delight or somebody? Or
I have no clue.
there's some. Yeah, that little hook got used later on. Y'all let me know. Music snobs, assemble. Let me know what that is. Chicago, The Emotions, White Lion, and Dio have all been a part of the show today. Somebody texted, official Aggie highlights, 1 field goal and 2 extra points included. How dare you? Oh, it's a Twitter little highlight package. I'm sure that'll be thrilling to watch. All right. I did double check that just to make sure on the Aggie schedule, it does list the maroon and white game as the first game, and many teams do that. They put the score, but they did not count it as a victory or a loss. Just double checking.
All right.
They also did something at the end of the season, Zay, that I'm not a huge fan of. Some fans would say this is just wishful thinking and looking forward and trying to be positive. But on December 2nd, it says at SEC Championship in Atlanta. That kind of bugs me as a fan.
Why?
Because I don't think my team deserves to do that right now. They just don't. Bama can do that if they want to. Georgia can do that if they want to.
We need to do that. I hope it says that for ours.
Texas should do that. Yeah,
That's the expectation.
Texas should do that this year. That's probably
Every year. This year.
That's
every
probably
year.
fair. But then sometimes I've seen A&M take the extra step of like on their calendar for the year, you'll literally go to that day and they put like a Aggie helmet
See, y'all tripping.
on that day.
No,
Like, whoa,
don't do that.
If you want to just say it's the SEC championship, that's fine. But at SEC championship, that makes it seem like you're saying you're going to be there for sure. What are you doing?
Mm-hmm. Slow your roll.
SEC championship, December 2nd. There's no need for an at. There's no need for at there. Don't do that. This is one of our road games. We're going to Atlanta. Calm down. Please calm down. All right. We will get back into some spring game talk for you Longhorn fans of what you thought of the game. We're getting a lot of good reaction there. We also want to remind you, Ball Don't Lie is coming up. Somebody texted us earlier. They can't wait to hear Rod Babers specifically going off on A&M giving awards for the spring game. We'll see if that happens. You know Rod and Harge and Patrick will have thoughts on the Texas spring game as well. That follows us at 3 o'clock. Right now, it's Where Are We At in Society with Zay. Let's see if Zay wants to rip on my Aggies or something else. Here we go.
Where are we at in society today?
Did you find something else about the Aggie spring game you want to make fun of?
No. I'm going to let y'all live.
Okay, I appreciate you. All right, is there something on Twitter for me here?
Yep, check it out.
All right.
The Oakland A's.
Oh, no.
One of the worst franchises in the major leagues. Their Coliseum is just getting worse and worse. And now there is a possum living in the visiting broadcast booth.
Dude, what?
Yeah, a possum where it stinks so bad that nobody could work in there.
No.
They got to move the broadcasters.
What?
Picture Craig Way going to, who would have a possum problem? Lubbock. And them putting Craig in the broadcast booth that he normally works in, and there's a possum roaming around, stinking up the place,
Oh, my God.
crapping,
This is in a visiting
doing the nasty with other possums.
broadcast booth? That is gross. This is like even further than what the Washington football team was dealing with. At least
Yeah, they
were,
had rats.
they were just leaking. Oh, they did have a rat.
Yeah, they
or
had
two,
rats.
didn't they?
Yeah.
We're getting even bigger now.
But they weren't Are there rats in the stadium? I feel like the rats were just at the facilities. It's not better.
The stadium, their stadium was leaking. We know that.
When it affects the other team coming in, that's when it really becomes a problem.
Yeah, that's when you look so unprofessional. You couldn't figure out the possum. By the way, I would not be the one to send in there for that because possums appear to be from the devil to me. They're so demonic looking. They freak me out.
Yeah, I don't do possum. I don't do any rodent, but possum, hell no.
Possums freak me out. Raccoons freak me out a little bit. I dealt with an armadillo in the last year or so. That wasn't my favorite time. And the skunk is an obvious one I don't want to deal with because of the extra thing you have to deal with. So, yeah, I don't want to go dealing with the possum, but somebody should have.
So they called the exterminator. Exterminator can't do nothing.
What?
Exterminator said, it's out of my hands.
What kind of weird Oakland exterminator do we have? Zay, this affects my baseball team, and this affects the team that a lot of people listening right now love. If you are a Rangers or Astros fan, we should be highly concerned. Because when they're sending,
yes, ALS, huh?
What's my man's name? Jared Sandler? Is that the voice of the Rangers now? We're sending a group of broadcast teams to Oakland. We can't have them coming back with rabies.
Yeah, it can't be rabid, can it?
Dude, it's bad enough that when these two teams get together, that's cool because they just got together. By the way, the Rangers won that series. I'm not sure if y'all realized that the Rangers won the series for the first time in a long time in Houston. But when they have to travel out west, that's tough enough. We don't need to have possums when we get out there. We got enough possums at home.
So this ain't a rodent? A possum's not a rodent?
I don't know.
Y'all have to school me on game. I didn't watch that much crocodile hunting growing up.
I'm going to have to double check on whether a possum is in the rodent family or not. I would have to double check that. Don't know.
Yeah, where I'm from, that's a fat-ass rat.
Or is a possum
that's a light-skinned rat.
Is it considered a marsupial? Because they have
That's what they're saying.
Because they have the pouch? You carry the kids in the pouch, I think that's a marsupial.
So possum don't look like no kangaroo.
Like a kangaroo or a wombat. I think a wombat's also one of those.
See, y'all were just making stuff up when y'all were trying to put these animals and families and stuff. Because when I see possum, I don't think no kangaroo.
Ooh, that's scary, man. We can't have that. Cannot have that. Let's get it taken care of, Oakland. I think if the broadcast team goes in, there's a possum, and they can get evidence of the possum, then the Rangers or Astros or whoever it is going in, that's a free series victory right there. We don't even have to play all the games. We're going home. We're out. You got to give us 2 free games for that.
That's foul.
We'll play one game. We get the other 2, and we're going home.
Yo, I've always heard bad things about the Oakland A's. You know, money ball. They've always been tight on money compared to other teams and stuff. But I love the colors. The hat's classic. But this is stuff that gets your franchise moved.
Now, look, I've heard of people in California that are weathermen, people that work in meteorology. I've heard of that being like an easy job and people just kind of guess or whatever. How are you an exterminator? And your response to this problem is, I don't know. It's a possum. It's not some microscopic creature. I can see the picture of it right here. It is a pretty large creature. Deal with it.
But to get back there, you must have to tear some things down that might mess up,
I don't want
trying to put them on TV.
I don't want to be too Texas country on them, and I hope they're not being too
good country. The people like that.
I hope they're not being too California careful here. Devise a plan to lure the possum out of its lair and into that booth. Then, follow me, kill it. What are we... Don't tell me we're going like all California style where we're trying to preserve the animal and send it out to No! Kill it. Kill it. That's what you do. Kill it. Trust me, the Rangers and Astros broadcast teams will respect bullet holes and knife cuts in the wall a lot more than they will if they see a live possum. Come on.
I think this possum's grandfather saw Ricky Henderson break the record. Maybe it's just legendary possum.
That is the weirdest connection you could have ever made. What a strange...
Maybe it's just legendary possum. They've been there for decades.
That is strange.
Years and years and years. You can't get them out.
See, that'd be even worse if they said to the exterminator, go get the possum, and it's like, no, I love Grandpa Ricky. Oh, jeez. Okay. Fair enough. No, we named it Vita Blue. All right, get out of here. This is stupid. All right, 2 o'clock hour coming up. Longhorn spring game reaction continues. NBA playoffs continue, but will they continue with a freak? And will they continue with Ja? We'll see if there's any updates coming up on the Horn.
Chad and Zay.
All right, starting hour number 3 on a Monday. Did not think we'd be talking as much possum and Aggie spring game as we are today.
Yo, y'all can't tell me nothing. That's a rat.
Wow.
That's a light-skinned, fat-ass rat.
Zay is claiming that the possum needs to be reclassified as a rodent. Some folks are trying to tell us that they are marsupials. Also, they do not carry rabies. I didn't realize that. And another person told us that they can be helpful in creating anti-venom for snake bites because they can get bitten over and over again by poisonous snakes and not die? I didn't know that. I've heard that about the mongoose. Apparently the mongoose and the cobra is a great fight because the mongoose has some natural thing where the cobra venom doesn't hurt it.
Huh. Is that like honey badger stuff?
Maybe the honey badger's got
remember
some
when
of that too.
Tyrann Mathieu came out? Everybody was so fascinated with the honey badger.
Yeah.
Like going and watching honey badger videos and kill things and stuff.
It was supposed to be like it was like the angriest, most vicious animal on earth.
Yeah.
Based on whatever they were looking at. So yeah, we've had some weird conversations today, but that's about par for us. Third hour starts with a good beat. What was that, Zay? What'd you have for the people today?
The MC by Wale.
Wale?
Yeah, Wale from DC. Solid rapper. Came out during the blog era with like Wiz Khalifa and Big Crit and Big Sean Currency, all those guys. And signed with Rick Ross label, MMG. Yeah, good rapper. He really likes Seinfeld. He's dropped a few albums called like More About Nothing and About Nothing and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, pretty catchy. Pretty catchy.
A nerdy Seinfeld fan rapper. I like that. Wale getting us started this hour. We hope you're having a good one. Continue to send us your thoughts on the Texas spring game. There's a lot of reactions we've had coming in on the spring game, different takes on the game. We've had some positives. We've had some negatives. We've had the kind of the ups and downs of it. Honestly, Zay, I think this one I think wraps up the quarterbacks pretty good. Tell me what you think. This text says, Quinn looked pretty good. Malik looked really good. He will make Quinn better for sure, which is good for us, and he will be ready when the time comes. Arch looked like a freshman still learning the speed of the college game.
Yeah.
That sounds fair.
Yeah, I'm with that.
Yeah. Give me your thoughts just on the quarterbacks. Would you agree with me that it all laid out pretty well in terms of a Texas fan looking for positive quarterback news and not looking for like extra, social media fodder?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we know the history with Texas quarterbacks. Usually a guy gets knocked out and you're going to have to replace them, whether that's a couple of games, a couple of possessions, who knows, but you're going to need somebody behind Quinn Ewers to get the job done. And I think we have a guy that could do that in Malik Murphy. Now, we really didn't see what those quarterbacks are really made of because it's not a live game. They can't be hit. Like when you take that shot, certain guys get up, certain guys don't. And certain guys, after taking that shot, they could stay in the pocket and could take another one and stay calm and cool, Bill Roethlisberger style, and still throw darts and still get the job done and push the ball up the field. And some guys, their eyes start wandering. Once a guy starts coming, they start scrambling. And I think that's where you look at Arch, just, the pace of the game. He has to really get used to that. And he will. His time will come. But now, Quinn Ewers and seeing from the Alamo Bowl and seeing how good he looked there, throwing over 300 yards, you knew that Sark, just put him in the right spots. And I've been so big on that all last year. As bad as Quinn Ewers was at times, I do not think Sark put him in the right situations to be successful as a guy that had the lack of reps that he did at the time, being a redshirt freshman. He just didn't. And Sark has to do a way better job at that. Now, the talent helps a lot with that this year. The talent last year wasn't where it should have been, but we know a lot of guys were hurt, from Isaiah Neo, everybody being moved around, etc. Didn't give the ball to Bijan Robinson nearly enough, even though he still won the Doak Walker Award.
Yeah, didn't utilize what they had at times too, yeah.
Right. So now, C.J. Baxter, we haven't really talked about him much. He had one nice run. He had that touchdown, which
pretty good,
he could have got in on the third down. I know Rashard Choice got after him on the sideline when he scored. But, it's same with Arch Manning. Him just learning the pace of the game, figuring things out. All that stuff will come. But at the end of the day, solid spring game. Nobody got hurt. And you saw the promise of why this team could win the Big 12 when December comes.
By the way, real quick credit to somebody that maybe you wouldn't think about, but number 49, Thatcher Milton, the guy that caught the first pass that Arch Manning threw. You talk about going all out to make sure that ball got caught. That play went like 8 yards, by the way. It was not a great throw from Arch Manning. He would tell you that. But Milton, it felt like Milton was thinking, okay, if I don't catch this, they're going to kick me off this team. Like, you really – did you – I mean, I was like, he had to dive all the way out to his left to make that catch. The other thing with Arch is Peyton and Eli, they even joked about it on the TV broadcast. I'm sure radio as well at times. But, Peyton and Eli are not known as the most incredible athletes. But we all remember through the years that, if you saw Archie Manning play, he could move. He moved a lot.
Yeah.
But also, out of those three brothers, they always told us that Cooper was the best athlete. The medical conditions stopped him from playing, but I enjoyed what I saw. And again, you can't take anything out of the plays itself. You don't learn a lot there, but I do like his functional mobility. Arch definitely seems to be able to move when he needs to. I think he's going to be good. He seemed like he was able to, shift in the pocket a little bit. Once it gets to him with live reps down the road somewhere, we'll see how it, all that works out. But we didn't get to see enough of him throwing the ball, I think, to get a real sense of what he really is.
Yeah, he was going against a lot of first-team guys, too.
Yeah.
So the pressure was there. And, yeah, I like what you said, just the athleticism, that's there, too. Kind of reminds you of Trevor Lawrence in that way, just him being that tall.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Having a little bit of giddy up that kind of surprises you. But, yeah, just the natural things that every quarterback needs, going through your progressions, seeing that, okay, if A's not there, if B's not there, then let me take C, which is the easy throw, not the home runs, things that Quinn Ewers still needs to work on. But, yeah, just – depth everywhere. That's so important when you're trying to win a championship, when you're trying to go to the SEC, you're trying to have a good ball club. You need guys just throughout the lineups at every position. If anybody goes out, be able to bring him in and not have much of a fall off, if any fall off at all. And that's what we were used to in the early 2000s with those MAC groups. And that's what we need to start getting used to now, especially going to the SECs. So I'm with it. I love what we saw on Saturday, even though it was brief and we can't take much out of it, but I saw enough.
The other thing, one little thing I would bring up with the two quarterbacks. So there was a little, they each had a swing pass out to the right. One was Ewers trying to throw it to Xavier Worthy, the one that was a little behind him. The ball went down, and they told Worthy to go cover it because it might have been down the line. The other was Malik Murphy just throwing a little swing out to C.J. Baxter. Murphy hit his and put it right where it needed to be, and the one from Ewers was a little behind. That's the kind of thing I'd be on number 3 about. Those are the things that need to let's just dial that up. That ball needs to be right there. And they'll tell them about it in film, but that's the kind of stuff I always look for. Everybody loves the deep stuff down the field. I love those little routes. When they're thrown perfectly, it creates the play. That's what Quinn Ewers needs to work on too. The little short stuff. Sark's got to call more of it for him to get him more comfortable with it, but he's got to start hitting those perfectly because he's got freaks out there, Zay. He's got freaks he can put it in their hands. Xavier Worthy, get him in space, that's cool, but make him turn all the way back where he doesn't want to turn, and then the play just stops. So just little stuff like that to work on that they will continue to develop. But I like both those guys. I think 3 and 1, I'm not sure if they're still roommates or not or whatever. It feels like they've both matured in this offense and things have slowed down for both of them.
Yeah, one thing Steve Sarkisian's preached about this season with Xavier Worthy is when he has the ball in his hands, being more aggressive. Same JT Sanders, all those guys, and Xavier Worthy, he was going out of bounds on one play and he lowered his head and he delivered a lot of that boom. And for a guy of his stature, that's impressive. If you want to get to that next level, that's what they're looking for in the NFL. They're looking for those guys that are fighting for the extra yards, even though you might be a smaller guy. Show your toughness, show that you could play on the next level. And this is a huge year for him. If he wants to get to where he needs to go, this is the year he could enter the draft. So that's everybody's aspirations when they get to the University of Texas. How are you going to get me to the league? How are you going to get me to achieve my dream? And I think for a lot of guys, even Jordan Whittington, who quietly was excellent on Saturday, I think people are going to forget about him just because we're so used to, we want to talk about these new guys coming in. Him being a fifth-year senior, talk about knowing the game, talk about knowing exactly what Steve Sarkisian wants out of you, the leadership. That's going to go a long way. And now with all these other guys around him, he's able to get one-on-one matchups, play his natural position, and we're going to see Jay Witt thrive.
Yeah, it's going to be an impressive group theoretically. We'll see what happens as they head to Tuscaloosa after one game, because that's the second game of the year. What will it look like? What will they show us against Rice? Will the nation be really excited about the Texas receivers headed to Tuscaloosa? We shall see. We're only now 138 days away from the first Texas Longhorn game. Obviously, a lot of reaction there. The text line's been fired up all day. 337-3776. Somebody texted in. We were just talking about him. Jay Witt could be this year's Duvernay. Interesting comment there. This one says, as a lifetime Longhorn fan, I don't want to hear anything about Texas being back until they win the Big 12 championship. I don't care how many games they win this season. I don't care how good they look. I will not be a believer until somebody puts the Big 12 championship trophy in Sark's hands.
I'm telling you.
That's the line for them. That's the bar.
I like it.
I'd set the bar in a different spot. I've said it's 9 wins, but there are a lot of Longhorn fans. Zay, I know you're in this group. There are some Longhorn fans that are saying Jerry World is the boundary. You got to be in the game. And there are others going where this listener is going, saying, no, not go to the game, win the game. That hardware has to come back to Austin for some fans to be happy with 2023.
Yeah, I mean, the schedule favors you. This is the last year in the Big 12. Why not go out with a bang?
Mm-hmm.
Why not go out with that momentum going to the SEC? That's huge, man. That's huge.
Don't you know Brett Yormark would love to present that trophy to Texas or Oklahoma?
Oh, he was salty when he was presenting the trophy in Kansas City for basketball. Salty self.
He was not happy. No, he was not thrilled.
Raise that chin, Brett. Raise that chin. Put a smile on that face, son.
That's right.
All that money we brought in. Come on.
Turn that Big 12 frown upside down.
Yeah, I ain't trying to hear that.
What are you doing?
Petty self.
Texas fans, let us know what you thought of the spring game. Also, we talked some NBA playoffs. Zay, I've not seen any updates on either Ja Morant or the Greek Freak today. Have you seen anything?
I have not. It's not looking good.
Yeah, both teams are concerned about him. It's a hand injury with Ja. You probably saw him run off the court. Man, I hated that for that game. What a game that had developed into. And, I mean, I watched every second of it, Zay. I made sure I had it on the DVR so I didn't lose it. And then 5 minutes to go, he hits the deck. That sucked. And we'd avoided the Anthony Davis thing by then. It looked like Anthony Davis was going to ruin that whole game by getting hurt, and then he's okay. And then he kept coming, and then Hachimura and Reeves go crazy for the Lakers, and they're looking good, and Ja, and then he hit the ground and it was out. That sucked. I hope he's okay.
Yeah, definitely, because I want the series to go 7, and it seems like if Ja Morant's not able to play, and you already don't have Steven Adams, you already don't have Brandon Clark, 2 huge pieces to this Grizzlies team, it seems like it could be a sweep now because LeBron wasn't good. And you got your best defender on him. Well, you might have wanted to switch him off on Austin Reeves or D'Angelo Russell, who had a really good game. D'Angelo Russell,
he was good too.
He has a Quinn Ewers in him, just like that. Too cool. I know I'm so skilled that there's a lot of things that I don't have to do by the book, but I could still be effective. When he's locked in, it's impressive. And it just looks way too smooth. I know people hate it because when he's not playing well, it looks like he doesn't give a damn.
Right.
Just like Quinn Ewers.
It looks like apathy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like
then when you're bringing Rui Hachimura off the bench and he's doing that, like, what do you want? So I don't know where they're going to go if Ja Morant's not able to play. I mean, Tyus Jones, he is one of the best backups in the league, has the best assist-to-turnover ratio for the last 5 seasons, which is incredible. The Duke guy, he could play, but he ain't no Ja. He ain't no all-NBA pro all-star guy like
And
Ja
it was
Morant
a shooting hand, correct?
I don't know for sure.
Okay, because when he ran off the court, I couldn't quite tell, but it felt like it was the right hand for him. Also, a bit of a lesser player, but hopefully Tyler Hero's okay for Miami.
He's out 4-6 weeks, broken hand.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
Yep. Trying to hustle, diving for the ball. Broke his hand.
That sucks. Now, and that was obviously, so that series is, there's injury both ways. Now, Miami would take that swap If he's got to be out, but the freak is out too, they'll take that. But we'll see how those injuries affect things tonight in the NBA. Brooklyn and Philly, you got any reason to believe Brooklyn's hanging in this thing?
No, they don't have any star power, man. They play hard. They have some of the best role players in the league. You know, Dorian Finney-Smith, one of the best role players in the league.
Miss him.
I know.
I miss him as a Mavs fan.
Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Spencer Dinwiddie, all four of those guys are incredible role players.
Yeah.
And the Sixers have guys that have won MVPs and is going to win MVP, like James Harden, who looks locked in, 23 points, 13 assists. I told you last week, Tobias Harris, if he could give them anything, then that takes the Sixers to a whole new level. You know Joel Embiid's going to get his, Tyrese Maxey. The Nets, they're just completely outmatched, and I think they're going to get swept.
Yeah, this one feels like it's Philly. We'll see if that continues tonight. And then Sacramento trying to win both games at home to really force Golden State's hand. And we all know how that math works. If Golden State loses tonight, well, then they got to win 4 out of the next 5 games, and they'll have to win in Sacramento, obviously, to get that done. If they even it up tonight, though, some of that calms down. Do you think they bounce back?
I do. I don't think anybody has ever said this. Steph Curry took a bad shot at the end of the game.
Wow.
That feels weird coming out of my mouth.
Other than Dell, I don't think anybody's ever said that.
Okay.
I'm sure along the way Dell told him because he's trying to teach him, but yeah, you're right.
That 1-foot floater, I get it. Greatest shooter of all time. If anyone was to shoot a floater, cool, it should be you.
Right.
But you have about 3 seconds left. You can get off a normal shot, which, again, you're the best three-point shooter ever. That's a better percentage than that 1-foot floater. I don't know if he wasn't aware of the time.
Yeah, I feel like he rushed it.
And
he doesn't do that.
He doesn't.
Yeah.
That was odd.
Yeah.
That was very odd, and they let one get away, but Andrew Wiggins, he had a chance to take the lead, 124, 123. I knew he was going to miss that, just the rust. Like, that's a tough shot to hit when you haven't played in 20-something games. But, yeah, I think the Warriors bounce back tonight. Championship mentality.
2 NBA games tonight. They'll start spreading those series out where it's maybe 2 or 3 each night. So tonight it's that Philly series and Sacramento. Those 2 home teams trying to go 2-0. Everything's on TNT tonight. Up next, we'll tell you why today matters on this April 17th, including the birthday over the weekend of an Austin area legend that you may not know about, plus some other GOAT-type characters that had birthdays over the weekend. If you want to react to the spring game, continue to do so. Specs text line 337-3776. This is The Horn. All right, this is Chad. Let's talk Underdog Fantasy, the easiest place to play fantasy sports. You got NBA playoffs underway, which means the NBA pick'em games are out there. You can also play MLB pick'em games. I'm looking at tonight's NBA games. How about Steph Curry? Let's go simple. 6 rebounds, higher or lower, or maybe you want to go fantasy points, 45.75 fantasy points, higher or lower. That's what you're trying to figure out with the pick'em games on the first game of the evening. How about Mikal Bridges? 29.5 points plus assists, higher or lower. You're picking whether they go higher or lower in the stat total for the game for your chance to win big. Pick between 2 and 5 players to build a pick'em entry. Get all your picks right. You can win up to 20 times your money in a single game. You can check out the Rivals picks. I've told you can mix those picks up. Want to do a couple guys from an NBA game and a couple guys from an MLB game. You can absolutely do that. Sign up today with the promo code HORN. Get your first deposit doubled up to $100. Visit UnderdogFantasy.com or find them in the App Store. And don't forget to register with my promo code HORN to get your first deposit doubled up to $100. Must be 18 or over and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit www.ncpgambling.org. NBA Pick'em and MLB Pick'em right now at Underdog Fantasy.
Chad and Zay.
That's a good start. Trying to get her from the studio. That can work sometimes, depending on how you do it. I do not recognize it, though, Zay. Do I have a shot here?
Nah, zero.
Okay. So we got
Schoolboy Q featuring BJ, the Chicago Kid. Studio.
Schoolboy Q, like the letter Q?
Yeah.
Okay. Schoolboy Q.
Schoolboy Q. He's from LA.
Okay.
He's in the Crew TDE record label, which Kendrick Lamar used to be in. They're tight, but Kendrick Lamar is now doing his own thing. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Kendrick's had a little success.
Yeah, a little bit.
He could do his own thing.
Yeah,
That's what you're saying?
It makes sense now.
Yeah, it does make
sense.
Yeah. Schoolboy Q, Chicago, The Emotions, White Lion, and Dio have all been a part of the show today. Plus, the Wale beat got us started this hour. It's not tomorrow. This week, coming up on Thursday, we're going to hit the L section of the music in the album swap. I'm listening to Lil Wayne's The Carter album from 2004, and I got Zay listening to Living Color, the first record, Vivid, from Living Color. I know he'll know Cult of Personality. I want to know what he thinks of the rest of that album. I'm a big fan. All right, so we'll get into that on Thursday. Hope you're having a great start to your week. Lots of spring game talk. Reaction from the Longhorn spring game. We'll get a couple birthdays out here, and we'll jump back into that discussion. Let's go Why Today Matters, April 17th. All right, as long as we were just talking rap, yesterday was the 30th birthday, Zay, of somebody I've been told to listen to, Chance the Rapper. Are you into any of Chance the Rapper stuff?
Yeah, yes and no.
A buddy of mine told me there's an album I should listen to.
Yeah, I liked him when he smoked cigarettes. He quit, and he hasn't been the same.
Really?
He had an album called Acid Rap. That's where he became really famous, and he was always talking about smoking cigarettes on there, which I don't wish that on anyone. But he was talking about it, and the album was incredible. That
you think it might have been the cigarettes?
I don't know. He was just talking about it a lot. But he's famous and he's big time. Nothing will ever be as good as Acid Rap to me.
Okay. My buddy told me to listen to, is it Coloring Book? Is an album? Something about Coloring Book.
Coloring Book never did anything.
Not into that?
Me.
Okay. Yeah, I understand. I will allow your cigarette comment because that's the way I feel about Metallica and alcohol. I really feel like since they got off the alcohol, things have changed. I'm happy for them.
Yeah, you always wish them the best.
But I feel like the music is not reflecting.
Yeah. Same with Eminem. When Eminem got off the drugs, it was a different M.
God, that first album after that. Wow.
It's a different M.
Totally different. Totally different. So happy birthday to Chance the Rapper yesterday. Cat Osterman had a birthday yesterday. Get this GOAT list. Cat Osterman, Selena would have had a birthday yesterday. Bill Belichick had a birthday yesterday. And Kareem had a birthday yesterday.
Oh, that's goated for sure.
Come on now. It's a big-time GOAT group. Also, I wanted to give a little love to a local legend, and I'd never heard this part of the story. Now, again, it's coming from Wikipedia, so take it for what it's worth. But a lot of people may know that Dick Night Train Lane is from Austin. Night Train was born in this area, and he went to Anderson High School.
What?
Back in the day when it was a segregated high school, okay? But here's the part I'd never heard, Zay. And by the way, he passed away in 2002. Would have been 95 years old yesterday. Night Train Lane is the product of a pimp father and a prostitute mother.
Oh.
The father convinced the mother to throw him away. She put him in a dumpster as a baby. He was crying. Somebody heard it. They thought it was a cat in the dumpster. It was Night Train Lane. A woman named Lane, who already had kids, adopts him, takes him as her own, raises him, and he goes on to become a Hall of Famer.
Wow.
And become one of the most famous, legendary, feared defensive players ever. So if you've ever wondered why Dick Night Train Lane tackled people the way he did, I might do that too if somebody treated me like that when I was a baby.
For real.
I'd never heard that story. But shout out to Dick Night Train Lane, a legend from this area, and he would have had a birthday yesterday. All right, so Zay, in addition to all of that, today matters because it is overreaction day for the spring game for anybody and everybody. There's a ton of spring games that happened over the weekend. If you want to go silly on ESPN Plus, you can watch way too many. Longhorns, Aggies, Virginia Tech. I saw Virginia, Clemson, Bama.
Georgia.
I didn't watch them. I just saw the logo. Georgia, LSU, Ole Miss, all kinds. Mississippi State. Anything we haven't hit from the Texas spring game that you wanted to get to? Or have we covered it all?
I mean, there's always so much more we can really nitpick. I thought, no Cole Hudson, no Connor Robinson. So, those guys were huge last year on that offensive line. DJ Campbell, Cam Williams. Now they're going to be just thrown into the mix. And you've heard so much about Cam Williams and how physical he is. And it just kind of goes back to the depth on everywhere. And
see, that's another thing I don't know how to assess offensive line ever really in a spring game, because when they're letting those guys run free at Arch Manning, I'm wondering, okay, is that because you're second and third string and they're first team?
No, it's tough to tell.
Or is it because there's a concern that needs to come up around that situation? Or is that on the quarterback because he didn't read something right? That's where those I don't know how to take sometimes in a spring game.
Yeah, and that's fair. And just with the depth that you see everywhere, it gives you confidence. It should give this whole coaching staff confidence to where they could play the way they want to, not worry about injuries. And if someone were to get hurt, you're not adjusting just to protect that person filling in that spot. You should be able to just jump in and roll with the machine. That's just the way it should be. And what I saw throughout Saturday and what just was reassuring was that there will be guys coming off the bench. Like, think about all the players who didn't play. Jalen Catalon, Casey Kane, Keelan Robinson. Like, there's a lot of guys that you expect to play some big-time minutes next year that didn't touch the field. Jonathan Brooks. Like, so many guys didn't touch the field that you expect to make some big-time plays next year.
Did you say Nair? Because Nair...
No, I say
right?
Nair.
He didn't
I didn't
play.
even say him.
He
Exactly. So the list goes on. I'm sure there's more that I forgot to say and forgot to mention. But, yeah, man, it's everything that you could have got out of it in a positive way, I think you did. And the nitpicking stuff, sure, there was things from, certain Quinn passes to just offensive line, defensive line mistakes, letting guys get to the quarterback and stuff. But, at the end of the day, all that stuff is going to be cleaned up. You got more guys coming in, freshmen that haven't touched down on campus yet in the summer. And it's exciting to be a Texas Longhorn right now.
The other thing I kept thinking of watching we talked about some of the little swing passes earlier. I like seeing those, the end around to Jonte Cook. I think some of those plays are important because I still don't. Again, if we couldn't trust Steve Sarkisian and the offensive coaches to truly commit to a run game when it was those guys running the ball, what makes us think they're going to do it in 2023? I think they need cute ways to run the ball. They need the swing pass to take the place of a run. They need the end around to take the play. This Deebo Samuel thing that's being mentioned about Savion Red and Jordan Whittington, go with that idea. Watch, and in the story about him going to San Francisco and hanging out with Shanahan a little bit. Yes, run like they run. Put a badass physical run and then cover it in a whole bunch of football stuff. Cover it in motion and pre-snap scheming and all of that. That, I think, is where Sark needs to be focused. We kept saying it all last year. It's not that he's being too cute. He's just not being cute enough consistently. He's got to keep that going, keep that mind rolling, and think of all different ways to throw and think of new ways to run, because he's not going to be a hand it to a guy 20 times kind of coach. We just know that.
Yeah, and there's so much that you can't tell what we saw on Saturday. Like, has the second half lapses, has that been changed yet? We don't know.
Yeah.
Remember all those?
Oh, geez.
Scoring 30-something in the first half and then kicking a field goal in the second
Yeah.
Squeezing out games, barely winning, losing games because
Offense
of
goes
that.
and went into a shell.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Stay aggressive. Just stay with it. Just go.
And that's the talent, like what the great Bucky Gobble says on B&E. Sometimes the talent just overshades the coaching.
Yeah.
To where whatever you call, it don't matter because I'm going against you, I'm better. If you're a corner
Right.
and I'm a receiver, I'm better than you because that's what you recruited. That's why it's so important to have those top 5 classes year in and year out. Nick Saban, we call him the GO. It ain't just X's and O's with that guy. It can't be. That's just not what not what it is. It can't be. He has dudes.
Yep.
Will Anderson, that's a dude. Bryce Young, that's a dude. They're fighting for both of those guys of being number 1, number 2. They don't know where. The whole draft's mucked up because guys like that. That's what you want down here. And we're slowly getting there. In year 3, it's looking better and better, and you got to be excited. You have to be. I see y'all drinking the Kool-Aid. I ain't drinking it. Don't pass me none of that.
Yeah.
I'll pass that to somebody
You're
else.
gonna wait. You're gonna wait.
I will wait.
Okay.
But I could see y'all drinking it. I don't fault y'all drinking it. It's cool.
You're
Sip up.
You're going to wait till Anthony Hill is running after a guy wearing a Rice jersey?
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah,
Exactly.
that's fair. And if I'm a Texas fan, there's 2 guys just watching the spring game, 2 guys that I'm hoping I get to see when it matters, because if you do get to see them, then it does mean you're getting these badass freshmen in, and that's Jonte Cook on one side and Hill on the other. To see them make a play or 2 against Rice, I feel like that's going to happen. I feel like that will be a part of it, because that's what you want. Because that's what Nick Saban's doing. That's what Dabo started doing at Clemson, where you'd be like, wait, who's this guy? Yeah, he's a freshman. Is he? Yeah. The one going down the sideline for a touchdown? Yeah, he's a freshman. This is a big game. Yeah, I know he's that good. Cool. That's what you want as a fan. And Texas fans have seen too many of those guys not get used over the years, where you go, oh, look at that guy. He's a freak and he's averaging this, but you only gave him so many touches. That's the part that's got to change.
Oh, I'm still salty that Tom Herman didn't use Bijan Robinson the way he should have been used his freshman year.
Yeah.
You serious? I'm mad at what Sark did, but Sark did way better than what
He did better.
Tommy
yeah.
did.
It's kind of a low bar, but yeah. It was, yes.
Yeah, very low.
But yeah, no, absolutely. You should be upset as a fan. You want to see the tools get used. All right, that's why today matters on this April 17th. Texas fans continue to react on the Specs text line 337-3776. Harge and Rod and Patrick will pick up that discussion at 3 o'clock and keep taking your thoughts on the Texas spring game. Coming up next, Stems and Seeds. If you missed the biggest NFL news of the day, it's in the Cowboys division, and it involves a lot of money. We'll tell you about it on the Horn. This is Chad. Let's talk sinus and snoring specialists. We went to a wedding this weekend, which took us out of town, going to the in-laws to sleep in a bed that's not unfamiliar, but it's one of those that, you go into a new place and do I take my pillow with me and what is the bed like? And it also rained that night, and so that can always be distracting and stuff. But with sinus and snoring specialists, I know wherever I'm going, wherever I'm sleeping, I'm going to get a great night's sleep. And it happened again this weekend. Dr. Slaughter and his crew did incredible stuff for me back in 2017, and they'll do the same for you. They'll treat you right. They'll respect those appointment times. They know how valuable your time is. Dr. Slaughter prides himself on meeting you in the first consultation. Not everybody does that. He is double board certified in ear, nose, and throat, so that means he's got surgical and non-surgical options that other places just don't have. They can get rid of your allergies for good. They'll take care of all that sinus trouble you've been having, and yes, they can deal with sleep apnea. I had moderate obstructed sleep apnea, but no longer got those passages all opened up, and I can breathe through my nose the way I'm supposed to be able to when I'm sleeping. Call and set up an appointment today, 512-601-0303, or go to sinussnoringent.com. It's sinus and snoring specialists. Feel clear, rested, and healthy.
Chad and Zay.
Aha! Thank you, fellas. Cypress Hill.
Yeah, that's too easy.
All right, but this is not the one that a lot of people would normally play. What's this song?
How I Could Just Kill a Man.
Oh, okay. Cypress Hill is Insane in the Membrane as well?
Yeah.
That's them? Okay.
Yeah, this is their other hit.
Yeah. Cypress Hill. High level of respect for Cypress Hill?
Oh, huge.
Yeah, they're big?
Huge.
Okay.
Yeah, they're one of the first to, I guess, weed rap.
Weed rap.
Talk about marijuana in their lyrics a lot. And
Okay. Now,
also for the Latin community, Be Real, DJ Muggs.
What part of
those guys are part Mexican.
What part of the world are they from?
California,
Or Cali?
LA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cypress Hill, Schoolboy Q, Chicago, The Emotions, White Lion, and Dio have all been on the show today, along with that Wale beat to get the hour started. We hope you are having a great Monday. Remember, coming up, it's Ball Don't Lie with Rod and Harge. Then Soccer Matters at 7 for your programming notes. If you have not realized it yet, Insincerious with Patrick Davis and the crew has moved from Monday nights to Thursday nights. Still going to be at 8 o'clock most of the year for you, but Insincerious has moved to Thursday nights. Glenn has a little bit to talk about with Soccer Matters. I know some Austin FC folks are not thrilled with a 0-0 tie coming out of the weekend. So that's coming up at 7. If you missed the big NFL story of the day, let's throw that into stems and seeds and see where we go.
No stress, no seeds, no stems, no sticks.
Brought to you by AV Consultations, 255-8678, or go to avconsultations.com. The number is $255 million for Jalen Hurts. His 5-year extension makes him the highest paid NFL player in history by average salary, and he gets a no-trade clause. First time the Eagles have ever had a player with a no-trade clause. Ever. Franchise history. That's how much they dig Jalen Hurts. So it's official, Zay. If the Cowboys get Bijan Robinson and you become a fan, then you, like me and all the Cowboy fans listening, we're all going to have to deal with Jalen Hurts for a while.
Is that how it works?
Wow.
I'm still going to like Jalen Hurts.
Dude, I hate how much I love his story.
Oh, man, it's
I hate
incredible.
it. Think of every place he's played. I do not like Bama. I do not like OU, and I certainly do not like the Eagles. But that guy is impressive enough that I kind of feel good for him.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think about just the longevity because he lowers his head. Sirianni, they designed so many run first plays for him. Will he be able to do that for years to come? And like you said, just his personality from him losing his spot in Bama and then saying, you know what? I need to be better. I lost my spot because I wasn't good enough. Tua was better than me. That's why he took my spot. Go on to Oklahoma, redefine his arm with Lincoln Riley. And when he was debating this money and was like, yo, y'all need to pay me this, they're like, I don't know if your arm's good enough. I'll make it good enough. How do you not believe him?
Yeah, how about these numbers to go with what you're saying? In his second year as a starter, he went from 19th to 4th in QBR. He's at 66.4 now, and 26th to 11th in completion percentage, up to 66.5%. What do we always talk about? 65% is a big number in the NFL. He also took the average time before throw from 3.12 to 2.76. That took him from 31st in the league to 16th. Zay, we said it from the moment he walked in the door. You know he's going to work. You know it. You knew he was going to work. Whether it was going to work is another thing. It's both those things are happening now. He's put the work in. Now it's working, and he's turning himself into the NFL quarterback you'd want. So now the Eagles can make the argument of, yeah, he does put himself in those situations, but he's also getting better at all the stuff that'll help protect him.
Right. And they did what they needed to do by providing talent around him. When they lost to your Buccaneers a couple of years ago, they didn't have enough talent. Who they get? One of the top receivers in the NFL, A.J. Brown.
Yep.
He took them to another stratosphere.
Yeah.
So they had 2,000-yard receivers last year with Smith and Brown. And They got Smith a couple more years on that contract. They'll probably tag his ass. Why not?
What a great draft pick that was.
Why not? Like,
I hate how good a pick that was for them.
oh, it's ridiculous.
It drives me crazy that made so much sense.
Dude won the Heisman. Come on.
Yeah, and then you always talk about that little speech he gave at the end of the year after the Bucs beat them.
It's one of my favorite speeches.
It had like that Tim Tebow quality to it when Tebow went off after that loss and they go and win the national title. It was just this calmness of, oh, no, we're going to work now. My offseason starts right now.
Right now. Ain't nobody going to work harder than me.
Oh, my God.
I'm going to have everybody locked in and prepared.
Yep. So now let's see what happens with the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson and anybody that might be interested in Lamar Jackson. Guaranteed money list, Watson gets 230, Kyler Murray got 189.5, and now Jalen Hurts gets 179.3 guaranteed.
Man, remember when they didn't want to give black quarterbacks a job in the NFL? Now we got 3 making top-tier money in the league. Love it.
That's 3. And then the alt, and then for the highest average, Zay, 1 is Hurts, 2 is Aaron Rodgers, 3 is Russell Wilson. Just saying. 49 mil for Russ, 50.3 for A-Rod, and $51 million now for Jalen